Have you ever felt like your mind is a battlefield where you're fighting endless thoughts, distractions, and emotions that seem to overpower you? Like every decision feels harder than it should, and every setback lingers far longer than it ought to. You're not alone. In today's chaotic world, controlling your mind isn't just a skill, it's a superpower. But what if I told you there's an ancient philosophy, tested over centuries, that holds the key to mastering this internal chaos? Stoicism, a guide that transforms storms into calm waters, noise into silence, and hesitation into purpose. In this video, you're about to uncover 50 Stoic lessons that will rewire your thinking, sharpen your focus, and give you the clarity to control your mind like never before. Prepare to learn from the wisdom of Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius. These aren't just lessons, they're tools to help you break free from overthinking, fear, and doubt so you can take charge of your life. Let's dive in, but first, let me tell you a story that will set the stage for the incredible transformation you're about to experience. In a bustling ancient marketplace, where the aroma of fresh bread mixed with the clatter of merchants and the chatter of passers-by, there lived a man named Cassius. To everyone around him, Cassius seemed to have it all: wealth, influence, and respect. Yet beneath his polished exterior, he was a prisoner of his own mind. Every night, as the world went quiet, Cassius would lie awake, consumed by anxiety and overthinking. He replayed conversations, agonized over future business deals, and feared losing what he had worked so hard to build. His mind was like an untamed horse, wild and uncontrollable, dragging him into exhaustion and despair. One day, while wandering through the marketplace, Cassius encountered an old Stoic philosopher sitting calmly amidst the chaos. The philosopher's serenity was magnetic, his presence a stark contrast to the frenzy of the market. Intrigued, Cassius approached and asked, "How is it that you, with so little, appear so unshaken by the noise and turmoil around you? I have everything, yet I cannot find peace." The philosopher smiled gently and replied, "Because I have learned to master my mind, not let it master me. True peace comes not from controlling the world, but from controlling yourself." He invited Cassius to sit and shared a lesson that would change his life forever. "Imagine your mind as a city," the philosopher began. "If you leave its gates open, anything can enter: fear, doubt, anger. But if you guard those gates, you decide what enters and what stays. To control your mind, you must first train it, discipline it, strengthen it. This is the path to freedom." From that day forward, Cassius committed himself to the Stoic way of life. He learned to pause before reacting, to focus on what he could control, and to detach from the noise of the world. Slowly but surely, he became unshakable. The sleepless nights faded, and in their place came clarity, focus, and a quiet confidence that nothing could break. The lesson is clear. Your mind is your greatest ally, or your worst enemy, and the choice to control it is entirely yours. In the next few minutes, you'll uncover the tools and wisdom to guard the gates of your mind. These 50 Stoic lessons will not only inspire you, but equip you to take back control, one thought at a time. Stay with me till the end, because the final lesson is the one that will truly set you free. Let's begin. 1. Your thoughts are not always your allies. Learn to question them. Your mind can often feel like an untamed river, filled with chaotic waves of thoughts rushing in without warning. Some whisper fears, others shout doubts, and many are just noise. But here's the first Stoic truth. Not every thought deserves to be believed. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic thinkers, emphasized the power we hold over our minds, reminding us that we have control over how we interpret and respond to our thoughts. The reality is that your thoughts do not define you. They are fleeting visitors, and you have the choice to either welcome them or send them on their way. Most of us move through life unaware of the stories our minds constantly create. One setback becomes a narrative of failure. A single criticism spirals into overwhelming self-doubt. But if you stop and observe, you'll see that these thoughts are like clouds passing through the sky, impermanent and often without real substance. The Stoics taught a practice called procrastination, a mindful awareness of your inner dialogue, where you don't silence your thoughts, but instead observe them with curiosity and without judgment. This allows you to decide whether they help or hinder you. The problem is that most of what we think isn't even real. As Seneca said, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Reflect on the last time you were consumed by worry. Did the worst-case scenario you imagined come true? Likely not. Our minds have a knack for exaggeration, creating problems that aren't there. To control your mind, you must challenge these thoughts. When you feel inadequate or anxious, ask yourself if the thought is based on fact or simply a projection of fear. This practice will weaken the grip of harmful thoughts over time. One of the most powerful Stoic techniques for mastering thoughts is cognitive distancing. Instead of identifying with every thought, step back and observe them as if watching a movie. You're not the actor caught in the drama. You're the audience, calmly evaluating what's on the screen. Epictetus taught that it's not events themselves, but how we interpret them that causes distress. When you realize that your thoughts are just interpretations, not truths, you begin to reclaim your power over them. Reframing a thought like, "I am a failure," into, "I'm having a thought about failure," creates enough distance to see the bigger picture. The ability to pause is another crucial Stoic skill. When a thought triggers anger, anxiety, or sadness, resist the urge to react. Pause, take a breath, and reflect. This momentary pause breaks the loop of automatic reactions and allows you to choose a measured response. For example, if you receive criticism at work, instead of spiraling into self-doubt, you can pause and ask yourself whether the critique is valid. If it is, use it as a chance to grow. If it's not, let it go without attaching unnecessary weight to it. Not every thought deserves your attention. Think of your mind as a garden. If you let weeds grow unchecked, they'll choke out the flowers. Similarly, negative or irrational thoughts can overwhelm your mind unless you actively uproot them. The Stoics used the principle of the dichotomy of control to guide their thoughts. While you can't always control which thoughts arise, you can control how you respond to them. By focusing on thoughts aligned with your values and dismissing unhelpful ones, you create mental clarity and strength. Controlling your mind requires consistent practice. Begin each day by reflecting on your thoughts. Throughout the day, pause and question the ones that arise. At night, review which thoughts empowered you and which held you back. Over time, this daily practice will transform how you think and help you build a calmer, more focused, and resilient mind. 2. You are not your emotions. Detach and direct them. Your emotions can feel like a raging river, threatening to sweep you away in its powerful current. When anger, sadness, or fear grips you, it's easy to feel like you're drowning, powerless to resist. But the second Stoic truth reveals that you are not your emotions. You are the observer standing on the riverbank, watching the water flow. The moment you realize this, you regain control. The Stoics understood emotions as natural responses to our perceptions. Anger flares when we feel wronged. Sadness arises when we perceive loss. Fear emerges in the face of uncertainty. But these emotions are not inherently good or bad. They simply are. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that anxiety and distress come not from the world, but from within, from how we interpret events. Recognizing this gives you immense power. Your emotions are internal, and they only control you if you allow them to. One of the greatest mistakes we make is identifying with our emotions. We say, "I am angry," or "I am sad," as though these emotions define us. But emotions are temporary states, not permanent truths. You are not anger. You are someone experiencing anger. This subtle distinction is transformative. Detaching from emotions doesn't mean ignoring or suppressing them. It means observing and understanding them without letting them dictate your actions. When anger arises, ask yourself why it's there. What belief or expectation is fueling it? This self-inquiry not only reduces the intensity of the emotion, but also provides clarity. Emotions carry energy, and that energy can be either destructive or constructive. Anger, for example, can lead to harmful, impulsive actions, or it can be channeled into addressing an injustice. Sadness can either paralyze you or deepen your empathy and connection with others. The Stoics believed that true freedom comes from directing emotions toward productive ends rather than being ruled by them. Seneca famously said that no one is truly free who is not master of themselves. Mastering your emotions starts with awareness. When you feel overwhelmed, pause and name the emotion. Simply identifying it, "This is anger," or "This is fear," lessens its grip. Then take slow, deep breaths to calm your nervous system. This act alone can interrupt the cycle of emotional reactivity. Once calm, reframe the situation. Instead of seeing emotions as obstacles, view them as opportunities for growth. Ask yourself what this feeling can teach you, or how you can use its energy constructively. Imagine a life where emotions no longer control you. Anger doesn't lead to regret. Fear doesn't paralyze you. Sadness doesn't consume you. This is the life the Stoics envisioned, a life of emotional resilience and freedom. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that distress comes not from external events, but from how we perceive them, and that we have the power to change our perception at any moment. The path to mastering your emotions is not about elimination, but transformation. By observing, understanding, and directing your emotions, you take a profound step toward controlling your mind. The power is in your hands. Use it wisely. 3. Stress narrows. Focus and distorts reality. Stress has an uncanny ability to turn the world into a tunnel. When it takes hold, it narrows your vision, blocks out possibilities, and makes everything appear more dire than it actually is. This is one of the most deceptive tricks of the mind. When stress grips you, it's not the situation itself that feels overwhelming. It's your perception of it, distorted by the weight of stress pressing down. Think about the last time you faced a challenge under pressure. Perhaps it was a deadline at work, an unexpected expense, or a tense argument. In those moments, didn't it feel as if the problem at hand consumed your entire reality? The more stress built up, the less you could see the bigger picture. This is because stress activates the survival mechanisms in your brain, narrowing your focus to what it perceives as an immediate threat. While this response might have saved our ancestors from predators, in modern life, it often leads to overreactions and poor decisions. The Stoics understood the dangers of this tunnel vision. They taught that stress is not caused by events, but by how we interpret them. When you're stressed, your mind magnifies the difficulty of a situation and minimizes your ability to cope. Marcus Aurelius would remind himself to ask, "What is within my power to control here?" This simple question cuts through the haze of stress and brings clarity. By shifting focus from the enormity of the challenge to the actions you can take, you regain a sense of agency. Stress also has a way of distorting reality. It convinces you that the worst-case scenario is inevitable and that you lack the resources to handle it. But how often do those worst fears come true? More importantly, how often do you find yourself stronger and more capable than you initially thought? Stress feeds on your doubts and insecurities, amplifying them until they feel overwhelming. Recognizing this distortion is the first step to breaking its hold. To counteract stress's narrowing effect, practice zooming out. Imagine your current situation as a single frame in the movie of your life. Will this moment define the entire story? Unlikely. Remind yourself that even the most challenging scenes eventually pass and the narrative moves forward. This perspective doesn't diminish the difficulty you're facing, but it does remind you that life is bigger than any one moment. Another antidote to stress is to create space in your mind through deliberate pauses. When you feel overwhelmed, step away for a few minutes. Take a walk, focus on your breathing, or write down your thoughts. These small acts can expand your mental bandwidth and help you see the situation more clearly. By stepping out of the stress-induced tunnel, you open yourself to solutions and perspectives that were previously hidden. Stress will always be a part of life, but it doesn't have to dominate your reality. The Stoics believed that by mastering your perceptions, you could navigate even the stormiest seas with calm and clarity. Remember, stress distorts reality, but with practice, you can learn to see through its illusions and find the truth waiting on the other side. 4. Stress creates an illusion of permanence. When you're under stress, it's easy to feel like the weight of the world will never lift. Every challenge feels eternal, every problem insurmountable. This is one of stress's most powerful deceptions, the illusion of permanence. It convinces you that your current difficulties are not just temporary setbacks, but unchangeable realities. Yet if you step back, you'll realize how false this perception truly is. Think about the struggles you faced a year ago. How many of them still weigh on you today? Probably not as many as you feared at the time. Stress in the moment feels all-consuming. It tricks you into believing that things will never get better, that you'll always feel this overwhelmed, and that the situation will never improve. But as the Stoics taught, life is in constant flux. No emotion, no event, and no problem lasts forever. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus often spoke of the impermanence of life's difficulties. He urged his followers to remember that everything changes, including our struggles. When stress clouds your mind, remind yourself of this truth. Nothing is permanent. Every storm eventually passes, and the sun returns to the sky. This perspective doesn't eliminate the difficulty, but it does offer hope and a sense of perspective. The illusion of permanence also amplifies fear and anxiety. When you believe a problem will never end, it becomes far more intimidating. But what if you could break this illusion? Start by focusing on the present moment rather than projecting into an imagined future. Ask yourself, what can I do right now? Action, no matter how small, chips away at the illusion of permanence. It reminds you that you are not stuck, that you have the power to move forward. forward. Stress can make time feel frozen, but in reality, life is always moving. When you're caught in stress's grip, it helps to remind yourself of the larger timeline. Write down the challenges you've overcome in the past. Reflect on how you thought they would never end, but eventually did. This exercise reinforces the truth that no matter how overwhelming a situation feels, it is temporary. The Stoics also emphasized gratitude as a way to counter stress. When you're stressed, your mind focuses on what's wrong. Practicing gratitude shifts your perspective to what's right. Even in the midst of difficulty, there are things to be thankful for: a supportive friend, a moment of rest, or the simple fact that you're still here, persevering. Gratitude doesn't erase challenges, but it reminds you of the good that exists alongside them. The next time stress tells you that this moment will last forever, pause and remind yourself of its impermanence. Just as night turns to day, this too shall pass. By seeing through the illusion of permanence, you reclaim your ability to act, adapt, and move forward with resilience. Stress may create the illusion of a never-ending storm, but you have the strength to weather it and the knowledge that calmer skies await. 5. Suppressing stress-induced energy worsens it. Stress is like a tightly coiled spring inside you, building tension with every added demand, worry, or unresolved emotion. Many of us instinctively try to suppress this energy, pushing it down in an effort to carry on as though everything is fine. But here's the paradox. The more you suppress stress-induced energy, the more powerful and destructive it becomes. When you suppress stress, you're essentially trapping that energy within your body. It doesn't disappear. It festers, waiting for an opportunity to erupt. Think of it like trying to hold down a beach ball underwater. At first, you might manage to keep it submerged, but the pressure builds, and eventually it bursts to the surface with force. Stress works the same way. Suppression might provide temporary relief, but it's a ticking time bomb for your physical and mental health. Suppressed stress often manifests in unexpected ways. It can show up as irritability, fatigue, or a sense of detachment. Over time, it can take a toll on your body. Headaches, digestive issues, and even chronic illnesses are frequently linked to unaddressed stress. Emotionally, suppression leads to feelings of frustration and helplessness, creating a vicious cycle that deepens the impact of stress. The Stoics recognized the importance of acknowledging and channeling difficult emotions. They didn't advocate for ignoring stress, but for understanding it. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively about examining emotions without judgment. He believed that by confronting our inner struggles head-on, we could transform them into sources of strength. Stress is no exception. When you allow yourself to feel it and address its source, you gain power over it. So, how do you release stress-induced energy constructively? Start by giving it an outlet. Physical activity is one of the most effective ways to dissipate stress. Exercise doesn't just release endorphins, it also provides a healthy channel for pent-up energy. Even a short walk can work wonders, helping to reset your nervous system and clear your mind. Another powerful approach is deliberate breathing. When stress builds up, your breathing often becomes shallow and erratic. This fuels the stress response, creating a feedback loop. By practicing deep, intentional breathing, you signal to your body that it's safe to relax. Try the 4-7-8 method. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7, and exhale for 8. This simple practice can calm your nervous system and release tension. Writing is another tool to help release suppressed stress. By putting your thoughts and feelings onto paper, you externalize them, making them less overwhelming. Journaling allows you to process stress in a safe and controlled way, providing clarity and perspective. You don't need to write eloquently. Simply getting your thoughts out can be incredibly freeing. Suppressing stress is like ignoring a fire alarm. It doesn't make the fire go away. Acknowledge the alarm, find the source, and address it. By channeling stress-induced energy constructively, you prevent it from controlling your life. Remember, stress isn't inherently bad. It's your response to it that determines its impact. Use it as fuel for action, and you'll transform a potential adversary into an ally. 6. The body deprioritizes essential functions under stress. When stress takes over, your body enters a survival mode, prioritizing immediate survival over everything else. While this response is a marvel of evolution, designed to help our ancestors escape predators or endure harsh conditions, it's far less helpful in modern life. The same mechanism that once saved lives now wreaks havoc by deprioritizing essential functions like digestion, immune defense, and even emotional regulation. The stress response activates your body's fight-or-flight system, flooding it with adrenaline and cortisol. Blood flow is redirected to your muscles and brain, preparing you to either face danger or flee. This is fantastic if you're being chased by a lion, but not so great when your threat is an overdue report or a tense conversation with a coworker. In these scenarios, the stress response becomes maladaptive, shutting down processes your body considers non-essential in the moment. One of the first systems to suffer is digestion. Under stress, your body slows or halts digestive functions to conserve energy for immediate survival. This is why chronic stress often leads to issues like indigestion, acid reflux, or irritable bowel syndrome. Your stomach, intestines, and other digestive organs can't function properly when the body is in a constant state of emergency. The immune system also takes a hit. Stress signals your body to divert resources away from long-term health and toward immediate survival. Over time, this leaves your immune defenses weakened, making you more susceptible to illnesses and slower to recover. Have you ever noticed that you're more likely to catch a cold during periods of intense stress? This is no coincidence. It's your body deprioritizing immune function in favor of handling stress. Even your brain suffers under prolonged stress. While the fight-or-flight response initially sharpens focus, chronic stress leads to brain fog, memory lapses, and impaired decision-making. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for logical thinking and self-control, takes a back seat as the amygdala, the brain's fear center, takes charge. This makes it harder to think clearly and regulate emotions, perpetuating the cycle of stress. The Stoics understood the importance of maintaining balance in the face of life's challenges. They believed that the mind and body are deeply interconnected, and that neglecting one would inevitably harm the other. To counteract stress's effects on essential functions, you must prioritize self-care and balance. This doesn't mean avoiding stress altogether, which is impossible, but rather managing your response to it. Rest and recovery are critical. Sleep, for example, is when your body restores itself, repairing the damage caused by daily stress. Yet, stress often disrupts sleep, creating a vicious cycle. Prioritize good sleep hygiene by maintaining a consistent bedtime, minimizing screen time before bed, and creating a calming nighttime routine. Nutrition also plays a key role. When stressed, it's tempting to reach for comfort foods high in sugar and fat, but these only exacerbate the problem, spiking and crashing your energy levels. Instead, Fuel your body with whole foods rich in nutrients that support stress resilience, such as leafy greens, nuts, and lean proteins. Lastly, reconnect with your breath. Stress causes shallow breathing, depriving your body of oxygen and perpetuating the fight-or-flight response. Deep, diaphragmatic breathing helps activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's rest and digest mode, counteracting the stress response and restoring balance. Stress may deprioritize essential functions, but you have the power to restore them. By addressing stress proactively, you not only protect your health, but also regain clarity and control. Remember, the body is remarkably resilient when given the right tools. Treat it with care, and it will reward you with strength and vitality. 7. Danger focus is hardwired into us. Deep within the fabric of human nature lies an ancient survival mechanism, our hardwired focus on danger. This evolutionary trait, while invaluable to our ancestors in the wild, often serves as a double-edged sword in modern life. The same instinct that kept early humans alert to lurking predators now magnifies every perceived threat, making us hyper-focused on what can go wrong rather than what is going right. Imagine the days of our prehistoric ancestors. A rustle in the bushes could signal a predator, and ignoring it could mean death. This acute danger focus was crucial. It kept our ancestors alive. Fast forward to today, and while we no longer face saber-toothed tigers, our brains still interpret stressors like deadlines, disagreements, or financial worries as life-threatening dangers. This outdated system, though well-intentioned, can turn everyday challenges into overwhelming crises. Danger focus isn't inherently bad. It's what enables us to spot and respond to threats quickly. But when left unchecked, it distorts reality. Instead of perceiving situations with balanced clarity, we fixate on the worst-case scenarios. The brain's amygdala, often called the fear center, hijacks rational thinking, amplifying threats and suppressing logical decision-making. This is why, in moments of stress, minor issues can feel catastrophic. One of the pitfalls of danger focus is its impact on relationships and decision-making. When hyper-focused on potential dangers, we may misinterpret neutral comments as criticism, see disagreements as personal attacks, or overreact to minor setbacks. This reactive mindset not only heightens conflict, but also erodes trust and connection with others. The Stoics understood the power of perception and its influence on our emotions. They taught that events themselves are not inherently good or bad. It's our interpretation of them that creates suffering. Epictetus famously said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them." In the context of danger focus, this wisdom invites us to pause, question our initial reactions, and seek a broader perspective. So how can we manage this deeply ingrained instinct? First, awareness is key. Recognizing when your mind is slipping into a danger-focused state can help you regain control. When you notice your thoughts spiraling into negativity, ask yourself, is this perception rooted in reality, or is my brain exaggerating the threat? Often, this simple question can shift your perspective. Grounding techniques such as mindfulness or deep breathing can also help interrupt the cycle of hyperfocus. By directing your attention to the present moment, you remind your brain that you are safe and that there is no immediate threat. Over time, this practice retrains your mind to approach challenges with greater calm and clarity. Reframing is another powerful tool. Instead of viewing challenges as dangers, try to see them as opportunities for growth. For example, a difficult conversation at work might feel threatening, but it's also an opportunity to build better communication skills. This shift in mindset can reduce the emotional charge of perceived threats, making them easier to navigate. Ultimately, danger focus is a survival mechanism that has outlived its primary purpose in many situations. By understanding and managing this instinct, you can break free from its grip, approach challenges with a balanced perspective, and channel your energy into meaningful action. Remember, the goal is not to eliminate this instinct, it's to master it, using it as a tool rather than letting it control you. 8. Grief and heartbreak. Hijack motivation. Circuits. Few experiences in life are as disorienting and consuming as grief and heartbreak. Whether it's the loss of a loved one, the end of a relationship, or the collapse of a cherished dream, these moments strike at the core of our being, hijacking the very circuits that fuel our motivation and purpose. What's left behind is often a sense of emptiness, a void where ambition and energy once thrived. Grief and heartbreak are deeply personal experiences, yet their effects on the brain are universal. Neuroscience reveals that these states activate areas in the brain associated with physical pain, particularly the anterior cingulate cortex. This is why the ache of loss can feel as tangible as a physical wound. The same circuits that drive our motivation are disrupted, creating a profound sense of lethargy and disconnection. In moments of grief, the brain struggles to reconcile the loss with its expectations of reality. The routines and plans built around a person or situation are suddenly rendered meaningless, leaving the mind scrambling to adapt. This clash between expectation and reality is exhausting, draining the energy needed for forward momentum. Heartbreak, in particular, can feel like an assault on identity. When relationships end, especially those deeply entwined with our sense of self, it's not just the loss of the other person, it's the loss of a version of ourselves. The brain, which thrives on patterns and familiarity, struggles to let go, replaying memories and creating an internal tug-of-war that stifles motivation. The Stoics were no strangers to loss. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reflected on the impermanence of life and the inevitability of separation. He wrote, "Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight." While this perspective doesn't erase the pain, it offers a lens through which to view grief not as an ending, but as part of the natural order of life. To navigate the grip of grief and heartbreak, it's essential to allow yourself to feel. Suppressing these emotions only prolongs their hold, much like bottling stress intensifies its effects. Acknowledge the pain, but don't let it define you. Journaling can be a powerful outlet, helping you articulate feelings that might otherwise remain tangled in your mind. Another vital step is reconnecting with purpose. While grief narrows your focus to what's been lost, purpose expands your vision to what remains. This doesn't mean forcing yourself into productivity, but finding small, meaningful actions that reignite a sense of agency. Volunteering, creative projects, or even simple acts of self-care can serve as gentle reminders that life continues. Community also plays a crucial role in healing. The Stoics emphasized the interconnectedness of humanity, understanding that shared experiences can lighten the burden of individual suffering. Opening up to trusted friends or joining support groups can provide a safe space to process your emotions and find solace in the knowledge that you are not alone. Overcoming the hijack of motivation circuits takes time, patience, and intentionality. Grief and heartbreak are not battles to be won, but journeys to be navigated. As you move through them, remember that healing doesn't mean forgetting or erasing. It means integrating the loss into your story and emerging with a deeper understanding of yourself and the world. The light at the end of the tunnel may seem faint, but each step forward brings it closer into view. 9. Social media prolongs. Heartbreak has always been a deeply painful experience, but in the age of social media, it has taken on a new, insidious dimension. Where once heartbreak allowed for clean breaks and time to heal, platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter now act as relentless reminders of what was lost. The digital age doesn't just memorialize relationships, it extends the grieving process, making it harder to let go and move forward. One of the most challenging aspects of social media during heartbreak is the constant exposure to curated realities. Seeing your ex smiling in photos, posting about exciting adventures, or even moving on with someone else can feel like pouring salt on an open wound. Social media rarely tells the full story, but your brain doesn't make that distinction. It interprets these moments as reality, fueling feelings of inadequacy, loss, and longing. The dopamine-driven nature of social media compounds the problem. Every time you scroll through your ex's profile or look at old messages, your brain rewards you with a small hit of dopamine, the same chemical that creates feelings of pleasure and attachment. This reinforces the behavior, creating a cycle of emotional dependency that makes detachment nearly impossible. What should be a time of healing becomes an endless loop of re-exposure to the pain. Social media also fosters unhealthy coping mechanisms. Rather than sitting with your emotions and processing the loss, it tempts you to curate your own life in retaliation. Posting carefully chosen photos, sharing cryptic captions, or engaging in passive-aggressive interactions may feel like reclaiming power, but in reality, these actions often deepen the wound. They keep your focus on the past and prevent you from embracing the present. The Stoics, with their wisdom on detachment and self-mastery, offer guidance on navigating heartbreak in the digital age. Epictetus famously said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." Social media, like any tool, is neutral. It's how you use it that determines its impact. Acknowledging the role of social media in prolonging heartbreak is the first step toward regaining control. One of the most effective ways to break free from the cycle is to create boundaries with social media. Unfollowing or muting your ex, limiting your screen time, and resisting the urge to check their profiles are acts of self-care, not weakness. By creating a digital environment free from constant reminders, you give your heart and mind the space they need to heal. Replacing social media habits with healthier alternatives can also accelerate recovery. Instead of reaching for your phone, immerse yourself in activities that bring you joy or fulfillment. Exercise, creative pursuits, or spending time with loved ones can redirect your focus and help rebuild your sense of identity outside the relationship. Healing from heartbreak requires time, effort, and intentionality. Social media can either hinder or help the process, depending on how you approach it. By stepping away from the digital reminders of your past, you allow yourself to fully grieve, reflect, and eventually move forward. Remember, the goal is not to erase the memory of what was, but to reclaim your ability to live fully in the present. 10. Men struggle. More with unresolved breakups. Breakups are universally painful, but the way they are experienced and processed often differs across genders. For many men, unresolved breakups can leave deeper scars, not because they feel less, but because societal expectations and emotional conditioning make it harder for them to confront and express their feelings. This internal struggle often results in prolonged grief, difficulty moving on, and a sense of unresolved pain that lingers far longer than it should. Society has long perpetuated the stereotype that men should be stoic, unshaken, and emotionally resilient. While this aligns superficially with the philosophy of Stoicism, it often leads to unhealthy suppression of feelings rather than genuine emotional mastery. Instead of openly grieving or seeking support, many men turn to distraction, burying themselves in work, pursuing casual relationships, or adopting a tough guy persona to mask their vulnerability. This reluctance to process emotions has neurological and psychological consequences. Research shows that men often experience breakups as a significant blow to their identity and self-worth, especially in cases where the relationship was central to their sense of stability. Unlike women, who may more readily turn to friends or support networks, men are less likely to vocalize their pain. This silence can amplify feelings of isolation, self-doubt, and inadequacy, prolonging the emotional fallout. The Stoics understood the importance of confronting pain rather than avoiding it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." For men navigating unresolved breakups, this wisdom serves as a reminder that true strength lies not in avoiding emotional pain, but in facing it head-on. By confronting their feelings, they can transform heartbreak into an opportunity for growth and self-discovery. One of the barriers men face in resolving breakups is the tendency to romanticize the past. Memories of the relationship are often filtered through a lens of nostalgia, magnifying the good and minimizing the bad. This skewed perception makes it harder to let go, as the brain clings to an idealized version of what once was. Breaking free from this pattern requires a commitment to seeing the relationship for what it truly was, flaws and all. Another challenge is the tendency to externalize blame. Men may attribute the breakup to external factors or the actions of their ex-partner, rather than examining their own role in the relationship's dynamics. While this defense mechanism protects the ego, it also prevents meaningful self-reflection and growth. Recognizing and taking responsibility for one's actions is a crucial step toward closure and emotional maturity. To navigate unresolved breakups, men must create space for vulnerability. This doesn't mean abandoning strength. It means redefining it. True strength is the ability to acknowledge pain, seek support, and work through emotions in a constructive way. Talking to a trusted friend, therapist, or mentor can provide the validation and perspective needed to process feelings and move forward. Another powerful tool is self-compassion. Men often hold themselves to impossibly high standards, viewing emotional pain as a weakness or failure. Practicing self-compassion involves treating oneself with the same kindness and understanding one would offer a friend. It's a reminder that pain is a universal part of the human experience, not a reflection of personal inadequacy. Healing from an unresolved breakup is a journey, not a destination. It requires patience, introspection, and a willingness to embrace discomfort. For men, breaking free from societal expectations and embracing a more authentic, emotionally open approach can pave the way for deeper connections, greater self-awareness, and a more fulfilling life. Remember, the end of a relationship is not the end of your story. It's a chance to write a new, more empowering chapter. 11. Avoidance delays trauma recovery. Trauma has a way of embedding itself deep within the mind, creating echoes that reverberate long after the initial experience has passed. It often feels like a protective instinct to avoid anything that reminds us of the pain, to keep it locked away in a mental vault and never look back. But while avoidance may offer temporary relief, it ultimately delays the recovery process and traps us in a cycle of fear and unresolved pain. The act of avoidance is deceptively appealing. It whispers promises of safety, urging you to steer clear of triggers and anything that might reopen old wounds. However, avoidance doesn't eliminate trauma, it buries it. The more you avoid confronting your pain, the more power it gains over your life, dictating your actions, decisions, and emotional state. Over time, avoidance becomes a prison of your own making, a place where the trauma remains alive and unchallenged. When we avoid addressing trauma, the brain doesn't have a chance to process and integrate the experience. Instead, the unexamined pain festers, manifesting in subtle but pervasive ways. It may show up as anxiety, irritability, or a constant sense of unease. Relationships, work, and even daily routines can become tainted by the shadow of what's been left unresolved. The brain, in its effort to protect you, keeps you hypervigilant, scanning for threats that may not even exist. The Stoics, with their emphasis on resilience and self-awareness, would argue that true strength comes from facing challenges, not fleeing from them. Marcus Aurelius famously said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." This wisdom reminds us that it is our response to trauma, not the trauma itself, that determines our ability to heal. Facing trauma requires courage, but it also requires patience and self-compassion. Acknowledging the pain is the first step. This doesn't mean you have to relive every detail or dwell on the experience endlessly. Instead, it involves creating a space where the pain can be observed, understood, and ultimately released. Journaling, therapy, or even meditative practices can provide a safe outlet for this exploration. Avoidance often thrives on the belief that facing trauma will be too overwhelming to bear. But the human mind and body are remarkably resilient. When given the chance, they possess an innate ability to heal. By avoiding the pain, you deny yourself the opportunity to discover just how strong and capable you truly are. Breaking the cycle of avoidance may feel daunting, but small steps can lead to significant progress. Start by identifying one aspect of your trauma that feels manageable to confront. It could be talking to a trusted friend, revisiting a place tied to the experience, or expressing your feelings through creative outlets like art or writing. Each step, no matter how small, chips away at the power the trauma holds over you. Recovery is not about erasing the trauma. It's about integrating it into your life in a way that allows you to move forward. Avoidance may promise safety, but it delivers stagnation. Facing your pain, with all its discomfort and uncertainty, is the path to freedom. Remember, healing is not a linear process, but every moment spent confronting your truth brings you closer to reclaiming your life. 12. Controlled exposure is key to overcoming fear. Fear, by its very nature, seeks to control. It whispers doubts, creates barriers, and convinces you that avoidance is the only way to stay safe. But the paradox of fear is that the more you avoid it, the larger and more insurmountable it becomes. Controlled exposure, however, offers a way to break free, a method to confront fear gradually, reclaim your power, and grow stronger with each step. Controlled exposure is not about diving headfirst into your worst fears. It's about taking deliberate, measured steps that allow you to confront what scares you in a way that feels manageable. This approach is rooted in the understanding that fear loses its grip when faced with intention and preparation. By gradually increasing your tolerance, you train your mind and body to respond with calm instead of panic. Fear often thrives on uncertainty. The unknown fuels the mind's tendency to catastrophize, imagining worst-case scenarios that rarely come to pass. Controlled exposure helps to dismantle these illusions. Each encounter with your fear provides evidence that you are stronger than you believed, and that the feared outcomes are often far less dire than imagined. The Stoics understood the importance of facing discomfort head-on. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." This insight captures the essence of controlled exposure. The imagined version of fear is often far more powerful than the reality of the experience. By exposing yourself to the source of your fear in small, manageable doses, you begin to strip away its illusion of power. The process of controlled exposure begins with self-awareness. Identify the specific fear that holds you back and consider what triggers it. Then, break it down into smaller, less intimidating steps. If public speaking terrifies you, for example, start by practicing in front of a mirror, then move on to speaking to a close friend, and eventually to a small, supportive group. Each step builds confidence and resilience, preparing you for greater challenges. Physical and mental preparation are also crucial. Deep breathing, mindfulness, and visualization techniques can help calm the body's stress response, allowing you to approach each exposure with a sense of control. By grounding yourself in the present moment, you remind your mind and body that the fear is not as overwhelming as it seems. The beauty of controlled exposure is that it not only diminishes fear, it also fosters growth. Each step forward strengthens your sense of self-efficacy, showing you that you are capable of handling discomfort and uncertainty. Over time, the fears that once felt insurmountable become opportunities for growth, resilience, and self-discovery. Controlled exposure requires patience and persistence. It's not a quick fix, but rather a journey of gradual progress. There will be setbacks, moments when the fear feels too strong or the steps too daunting. But each attempt, no matter the outcome, is a victory in itself. With every encounter, you gain strength, confidence, and a deeper understanding of your own capacity for courage. Fear is a natural part of life, but it doesn't have to define it. Controlled exposure is a powerful tool for reclaiming your freedom and breaking free from the limitations fear imposes. Remember, bravery is not the absence of fear. It's the willingness to face it, one step at a time. 13. Comfort can lead to fatal complacency. Comfort is seductive. It whispers promises of ease, safety, and predictability, drawing us into routines that shield us from discomfort and uncertainty. But while comfort may feel like a haven, it can quietly transform into a trap. Over time, it fosters complacency, dulls ambition, and stifles growth, leaving us unprepared for the inevitable challenges life will throw our way. In its extreme form, comfort can even become fatal, robbing us of vitality, resilience, and the drive to adapt. The allure of comfort is deeply ingrained in human nature. Our ancestors sought shelter from the elements, steady sources of food, and protection from predators. These instincts served their survival. Today, however, comfort has evolved from a survival mechanism to a cultural obsession. From heated homes to instant meals, modern life offers unparalleled convenience. While these advancements are remarkable, they also invite a dangerous dependency on ease. Complacency arises when comfort becomes habitual. It lulls us into a false sense of security, convincing us that the status quo is sufficient. In this state, we avoid risks, shirk challenges, and resist change. The result? A slow erosion of our mental, physical, and emotional fortitude. Without the stimulus of challenge, the muscles of resilience and adaptability atrophy, leaving us vulnerable when adversity inevitably strikes. The Stoics recognized the perils of excessive comfort. They advocated for periodic self-imposed hardship, not as an act of masochism, but as a means of preparation. Seneca wrote, "Set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself, 'Is this the condition that I feared?'" This practice of voluntary discomfort builds resilience and reminds us of our capacity to endure. Comfort's greatest danger lies in its ability to dull our awareness. In the pursuit of ease, we may ignore signs of stagnation or decay, whether in our health, relationships, or personal growth. This complacency can have dire consequences. A sedentary lifestyle, for example, may feel pleasant in the moment, but contributes to long-term health issues. Similarly, avoiding conflict in relationships for the sake of comfort can lead to unresolved tensions that eventually fracture bonds. The antidote to fatal complacency is deliberate discomfort. This doesn't mean rejecting comfort entirely, but rather challenging ourselves to step outside its bounds regularly. Whether it's pushing physical limits through exercise, embracing difficult conversations, or pursuing ambitious goals despite the fear of failure, these acts of intentional discomfort keep us sharp, adaptable, and resilient. Comfort zones are meant to be temporary resting places, not permanent residences. By venturing beyond them, we discover new capabilities, broaden our perspectives, and fortify our character. Each challenge faced, each discomfort endured, adds a layer of strength and adaptability that no amount of comfort could ever provide. In the end, comfort is a double-edged sword. It can be a source of solace and rejuvenation, but if left unchecked, it becomes a silent thief of potential. Recognize its place in your life, but never allow it to become your master. Growth, fulfillment, and resilience lie on the other side of discomfort, waiting to be claimed by those willing to step into the unknown. 14. Adrenaline impairs rational thinking. Adrenaline is often hailed as a life-saving ally, the chemical that propels us into action in moments of crisis. It sharpens the senses, heightens awareness, and fuels the body with energy. But while adrenaline can be invaluable in emergencies, it comes at a cost. Under its influence, rational thinking takes a backseat to instinctual reactions, and in non-life-threatening situations, this can lead to impulsive decisions, misjudgments, and regret. When adrenaline surges through the body, it activates the fight-or-flight response. This ancient mechanism was designed to protect us from immediate dangers, like a predator in the wild. The body diverts energy from non-essential functions, such as digestion and higher-order thinking, to prepare for action. Heart rate accelerates, breathing becomes rapid, and muscles tense. While this response is critical in moments of survival, it's ill-suited for the complexities of modern life. In today's world, most stresses are not life-threatening, Deadlines, arguments, and unexpected challenges rarely require physical combat or escape. Yet, the body responds to these stresses as if they were existential threats. The adrenaline rush clouds judgment, narrowing focus to the immediate problem while disregarding broader context and long-term consequences. This impairment of rational thinking can manifest in various ways. In an argument, adrenaline might drive you to lash out with harsh words, rather than listening and responding thoughtfully. In decision-making, it may push you to act hastily, prioritizing short-term relief over long-term benefits. The Stoics would caution against letting such impulses dictate our actions. Epictetus advised, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This wisdom underscores the importance of pausing, even amidst the rush of adrenaline, to regain clarity. The key to countering adrenaline's effects lies in cultivating mindfulness and emotional regulation. By becoming aware of the body's stress response, you can create a buffer between stimulus and reaction. Techniques such as deep breathing, grounding exercises, and deliberate pauses can help calm the physiological surge, allowing rational thought to reassert itself. In moments of heightened adrenaline, ask yourself, is this reaction proportional to the situation? What would a calm, composed version of myself do? These questions can help reorient your focus and guide your actions away from impulsivity and toward thoughtful responses. Adrenaline's impact on rational thinking also highlights the importance of preparation. When faced with high-pressure situations, having a plan or framework to fall back on can reduce the likelihood of reactive decisions. For example, rehearsing how to respond to criticism or preparing for high-stakes meetings equips you to navigate these scenarios with greater composure, even when adrenaline kicks in. While adrenaline is a powerful force, it is not invincible. Through self-awareness, practice, and discipline, you can learn to harness its energy without succumbing to its pitfalls. The Stoics believed in the power of reason as the guiding principle of life. By tempering adrenaline with rationality, you align with this philosophy, transforming a potential liability into a source of strength. Adrenaline may impair rational thinking in the moment, but with practice, it can become a tool rather than a tyrant. It is not the surge itself that defines us, but how we choose to respond to it. Master this response, and you master not only your mind, but the challenges life throws your way. 15. Grief rewires the brain's map. Grief is not just an emotional experience, it fundamentally alters the brain's landscape. When we lose someone or something deeply meaningful, it's as though a part of our mental map is torn apart, leaving us disoriented and raw. The neural circuits that were once tied to the presence of that person or situation now find themselves rudderless, struggling to adapt to a reality that feels incomplete. Grief, in essence, is the brain's way of recalibrating itself in the aftermath of profound loss. The bonds we form with others are not merely emotional, but deeply biological. The brain establishes patterns and pathways that reflect these connections, creating a sense of familiarity and safety. When someone integral to our lives is suddenly gone, the brain must rewire itself, which is neither quick nor painless. This process often manifests as an overwhelming sense of loss, confusion, and even physical pain. During grief, the brain's reward and memory systems become overactive, continually seeking what is no longer there. This explains why we replay memories, hear their voice in our minds, or feel their presence even when they are absent. It's not delusion, but the brain's desperate attempt to make sense of the void. The hippocampus, responsible for memory, and the amygdala, tied to emotions, work overtime, creating a loop that can feel impossible to escape. Neurochemically, grief disrupts balance. Cortisol levels spike, signaling stress, while dopamine, associated with pleasure and motivation, plummets. This chemical imbalance contributes to the feelings of hopelessness and inertia, often experienced during mourning. The prefrontal cortex, the seat of rational thought, also suffers, making it harder to focus, plan, or see beyond the pain. The Stoics understood the inevitability of loss and the profound impact it has on the human psyche. They advocated for premeditatio malorum, anticipating potential losses, not to dwell on tragedy, but to build resilience for when it strikes. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight." This perspective encourages us to view grief not as a permanent wound, but as a transformative process. Healing from grief requires patience and self-compassion. While the brain works to rewire itself, we can support this process through intentional actions, engaging in routines, leaning on supportive relationships, and practicing mindfulness can help anchor us in the present. Grief rewiring is not about erasing memories or severing bonds, but about reshaping the brain's map to include the absence. Grief is a testament to the depth of our connections. It is painful because it is profound. But as the brain rewires itself, new pathways are formed, ones that honor the memory of what was lost, while allowing space for growth and renewal. This transformation does not diminish the importance of the loss. It integrates it into the fabric of our being. In time, the rawness of grief gives way to a quieter, more reflective state. The brain adapts, and we learn to navigate the world with a different map, one marked by both loss and resilience. Grief rewires the brain not to erase what was, but to help us move forward with it as part of our story. Through this rewiring, we rediscover our capacity to live, love, and grow, even in the face of profound loss. 16. Breakups and death share. Similar pain mechanisms. At first glance, breakups and death might seem like vastly different experiences. One signifies the end of a relationship, the other, the end of a life. Yet the human brain processes these losses in strikingly similar ways. Both activate the same neural pathways and emotional responses, eliciting profound feelings of pain, loss, and disorientation. This overlap reveals how deeply connected we are to the people we care about, and how their absence can shake us to our core. When a relationship ends, the brain reacts as though it has suffered a physical injury. Neuroimaging studies show that the pain centers in the brain, particularly the anterior cingulate cortex, light up during heartbreak in the same way they do during physical pain. This is why a breakup can feel like a blow to the chest or a gnawing ache that refuses to subside. It's not metaphorical, it's physiological. Similarly, the loss of a loved one to death triggers the brain's grief response. Both scenarios involve the sudden absence of someone central to our lives, creating a void that the brain struggles to comprehend. The oxytocin and dopamine associated with connection and attachment plummet, leaving us feeling abandoned and bereft. The result is an emotional upheaval that mirrors the symptoms of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and eventually acceptance. The Stoics often emphasized the impermanence of all things, including relationships. Epictetus observed, "When giving your wife or child a kiss, repeat to yourself, 'You are kissing a mortal.'" This wasn't meant to diminish the significance of love, but to prepare the mind for the inevitability of loss. By acknowledging the transience of our bonds, we can approach their end, whether through breakup or death, with greater resilience. Both breakups and death challenge our sense of identity. When a relationship ends, especially one that was deeply meaningful, we lose not just the other person, but also the version of ourselves that existed with them. Similarly, the death of a loved one can force us to redefine who we are without their presence. This loss of identity compounds the emotional pain as we grapple with questions like, who am I without them? Recovery from either type of loss requires time and effort. The brain's neural pathways must adapt, creating new patterns that reflect the absence. This process can feel like uncharted territory, fraught with setbacks and moments of despair. However, it also offers an opportunity for growth. By confronting our pain and embracing change, we build resilience and gain a deeper understanding of ourselves. While the pain of a breakup or death may feel insurmountable in the moment, it is ultimately a testament to the depth of our capacity to connect and care. The Stoics remind us to focus on what is within our control. We cannot undo the loss, but we can choose how to respond to it. Through acceptance, self-reflection, and intentional action, we can transform our suffering into a source of strength. Breakups and death remind us of life's fragility and the importance of cherishing the connections we have. They teach us that love and loss are two sides of the same coin. By understanding the shared pain mechanisms behind these experiences, we can approach them with greater compassion for ourselves and others. In doing so, we honor the bonds we've lost while forging a path forward, guided by resilience and hope. 17. Suppressing feelings hinders true healing. The natural response to emotional pain often includes an instinct to suppress or avoid feelings. We convince ourselves that if we ignore the hurt long enough, it will disappear. Yet this approach rarely, if ever, leads to true healing. Suppressing emotions is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. It takes effort, and sooner or later it will resurface with force. The pain we bury doesn't vanish, it festers, influencing our thoughts, behaviors, and overall well-being in ways we may not even recognize. Emotions are the mind's way of processing experiences, both joyful and painful. When we suppress them, we interrupt this natural process. The brain, unable to resolve the emotional experience, keeps it alive in subtle ways. This might manifest as chronic stress, irritability, or even physical symptoms like headaches or digestive issues. Suppression doesn't erase feelings. It simply redirects them into hidden corners of the mind and body, where they continue to exert influence. From a neurological perspective, suppressing emotions activates the brain's stress response. Cortisol levels rise as the body remains in a state of tension, bracing against feelings we refuse to confront. Over time, this chronic stress damages the immune system, weakens the heart, and accelerates aging. Emotional suppression is not just a psychological burden, it is a physiological one. Healing begins with acknowledgement. Allowing ourselves to feel fully and without judgment is an act of courage and self-compassion. It's not about wallowing in pain, but about giving emotions the space to move through us. Just as physical wounds need air to heal, emotional wounds require openness and acceptance. The Stoics recognized this truth. While they often emphasized emotional restraint, they also advocated for self-awareness and honesty about one's inner state. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Part of this strength comes from confronting, not avoiding, what lies within. It's important to remember that expressing feelings doesn't always mean dramatic outbursts or confrontations. It can be as simple as journaling, talking to a trusted friend, or even meditating to sit with the emotions. These practices allow us to name and understand what we're feeling, which is the first step toward letting go. By acknowledging our pain, we take away its power to control us. Suppressing feelings also hinders our ability to connect with others. Authentic relationships are built on vulnerability and understanding. When we suppress our emotions, we create barriers that prevent meaningful connection. Sharing our feelings, even when it's uncomfortable, fosters empathy and strengthens bonds. It reminds us that we are not alone in our struggles. True healing requires us to face our emotions, no matter how difficult. It's not an easy path, but it's the only one that leads to genuine recovery. By confronting our feelings, we allow ourselves to process them fully, release their grip on us, and move forward with clarity and strength. Suppression might seem like the easier option, but in reality, it is the harder road, one that keeps us trapped in pain. Healing, on the other hand, is liberating. It opens the door to growth, resilience, and a deeper understanding of ourselves. 18. Trauma leaves. Lasting mental imprints. Trauma is not just an event that happens and fades into the past. It imprints itself on the mind, leaving marks that shape how we perceive the world, interact with others, and respond to new experiences. These imprints are not always visible or easily understood. Trauma rewires the brain, embedding itself in our neural pathways and influencing thoughts, emotions, and behaviors long after the event has passed. When we experience trauma, the brain's fight-or-flight response is activated. This survival mechanism floods the body with stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol, preparing us to either confront or escape the threat. While this response is critical in moments of danger, it can linger long after the threat has subsided. For those who endure trauma, the brain remains hypervigilant, constantly scanning for danger, even in safe environments. This hyperarousal can lead to anxiety, irritability, and difficulty relaxing or concentrating. Trauma also impacts memory. The amygdala, responsible for processing emotions, and the hippocampus, which manages memory, often work in overdrive during traumatic events. This can result in fragmented, intrusive memories, or even complete gaps in recollection. The brain's attempt to protect itself by suppressing or distorting traumatic memories often backfires, leaving the individual stuck in a loop of unresolved fear and pain. Emotionally, trauma creates patterns of avoidance and distrust. Those affected may withdraw from relationships, fearing vulnerability or rejection. They may also develop negative core beliefs, such as feeling unworthy, unsafe, or incapable. These beliefs can shape their identity and choices, limiting their ability to live fully and authentically. The Stoics understood the importance of addressing fear and pain directly. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." While trauma is undeniably real, the stories we tell ourselves about it can either exacerbate or alleviate its impact. Facing the truth of what happened and working through its effects can help us reclaim control over our minds and lives. Healing from trauma involves more than just time. It requires intentional effort to process and integrate the experience. Therapy, mindfulness, and self-reflection are powerful tools for this work. By creating a safe space to explore the pain, we can begin to reframe the narrative around the trauma. Instead of seeing ourselves as victims, we can recognize our resilience and ability to overcome. Trauma may leave lasting imprints, but it doesn't define us. With the right support and mindset, we can transform those imprints into sources of strength and wisdom. The journey is not linear, and setbacks are inevitable. But each step toward understanding and healing brings us closer to freedom from the shadows of the past. Trauma's imprints are a testament to the depth of our humanity. They remind us of the challenges we've faced and the strength we've summoned to survive. By confronting and working through these imprints, we honor our pain while choosing not to let it dictate our future. This is the essence of resilience, the ability to rise again and again, no matter how deep the scars. 19. Misusing grief and anger. As motivation is harmful, grief and anger, two of the most intense human emotions, often present themselves as a wellspring of energy in our darkest moments. They can feel like fuel, igniting action when all else seems stagnant. For many, grief becomes a call to action, a drive to prove something to the world or honor a loss, while anger turns into a propelling force to overcome obstacles or confront injustice. Yet, misusing these emotions as primary motivators can lead to unintended harm, both to ourselves and others. Grief, at its core, is a reflection of love and loss. It is the mind's and heart's way of processing something profound that has changed irrevocably. When we try to channel grief into relentless action, working harder, achieving more, or seeking external validation, we bypass the critical process of emotional healing. The wound remains, unacknowledged, festering beneath the surface. While it may seem like we're being productive or honoring a loss, we are often avoiding the discomfort of sitting with our pain. This avoidance can lead to burnout, emotional detachment, or a sense of emptiness once the external achievements are realized. Anger, on the other hand, is a response to perceived threats, injustices, or betrayals. It's a natural, instinctive emotion that demands attention and action. In controlled doses, anger can highlight what matters to us and push us to address wrongs. However, when anger becomes a constant driver, it clouds judgment and fosters destructive behaviors. Decisions made in anger are rarely rational, often harming relationships and perpetuating cycles of conflict. What starts as a desire for justice or change can devolve into bitterness, resentment, and an inability to let go. Both grief and anger, when misused, are emotionally taxing. They keep the body in a state of heightened stress, flooding the system with cortisol and adrenaline. Over time, this chronic stress affects physical health, weakening the immune system, increasing the risk of heart disease, and accelerating aging. Mentally, it narrows focus, distorts reality, and creates patterns of obsessive thinking. We become trapped, tethered to the very emotions we thought were empowering us. The Stoics understood the pitfalls of allowing intense emotions to govern our actions. Marcus Aurelius observed, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This strength lies not in suppressing emotions, but in understanding and redirecting them. Grief and anger have their place, but they are not sustainable sources of motivation. They are signals, grief urging us to honor what we've lost, anger compelling us to address injustice, but they should not be the foundation upon which we build our lives. To navigate these emotions healthily, we must first allow ourselves to feel them without judgment. Grief requires space to mourn, to reflect, and to accept. It's a process, not a problem to be solved. Anger, when acknowledged without immediate reaction, can reveal deeper truths about our values and vulnerabilities. By sitting with these emotions, we gain clarity on what truly matters and how best to act. True motivation comes from purpose, not pain. While grief and anger can spark movement, lasting drive must come from a place of inner stability and alignment with one's values. Channeling these emotions through mindful practices, journaling, meditation, or thoughtful conversations can transform their raw energy into constructive actions. Rather than being consumed by grief or anger, we learn to integrate them into a broader narrative of growth and resilience. Misusing grief and anger as motivation is ultimately harmful because it perpetuates a cycle of emotional dependency. It ties our sense of worth and action to pain, making it difficult to find peace or joy. By acknowledging these emotions, understanding their messages, and moving forward with intention, we reclaim our power. We honor our experiences without letting them define us, creating a path of strength, wisdom, and purpose. 20. Primitive survival systems. Drive. Complex. Emotions. Human emotions, no matter how intricate they may seem, are deeply rooted in primitive survival mechanisms. Beneath the layers of modern thought and societal constructs lies an ancient system designed to keep us alive. This system, while essential for survival, often drives complex emotions in ways that feel overwhelming or contradictory in today's world. At its core, the brain's survival mechanisms are geared toward one primary goal: ensuring the continuation of life. The fight-or-flight response, governed by the amygdala, activates when we perceive threats. This response is immediate and instinctive, triggering fear, anger, or anxiety to prepare the body for action. While these reactions were crucial for our ancestors facing predators or natural disasters, they often misfire in modern contexts, turning social conflicts, deadlines, or perceived slights into life-or-death scenarios. The complexity of human emotions arises from the interplay between these primitive systems and our higher cognitive functions. For instance, fear doesn't just signal immediate danger, it intertwines with memory and imagination, creating anxiety about future possibilities or regret over past actions. Similarly, anger is not only a reaction to injustice, but also a protective shield against vulnerability, masking feelings of hurt or fear. Love, one of the most profound human experiences, also has its roots in survival. The bonds we form with others are driven by the need for connection, safety, and reproduction. Yet these bonds can lead to jealousy, heartbreak, or grief. Emotions that seem far removed from the simplicity of survival, but are, in essence, extensions of the same primitive drives. Understanding that our emotions are rooted in survival mechanisms can help us navigate them more effectively. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the intensity or contradictions of our feelings, but recognizing their evolutionary purpose provides clarity. Fear, anger, love, and sadness are not enemies. They are signals, guiding us towards safety, connection, and meaning. However, in a world vastly different from the one these mechanisms were designed for, it's crucial to approach them with awareness and intentionality. The Stoics emphasized the importance of mastering one's emotions, not by suppressing them, but by understanding and aligning them with reason. Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it, that matters." This wisdom reflects the need to bridge the gap between primitive instincts and conscious thought. By observing our emotions without immediate reaction, we create space to choose our responses rather than being driven by unconscious impulses. Primitive survival systems also explain why we are drawn to extremes. The thrill of danger, the intensity of love, or the depth of despair all tap into ancient pathways designed to keep us engaged with life. While these extremes can be exhilarating or profound, they also carry risks, leading to impulsive decisions, burnout, or emotional dependency. To navigate this complexity, we must cultivate self-awareness, recognizing when our survival instincts are driving our emotions allows us to step back and assess the situation with clarity. Practices like mindfulness, meditation, and journaling help us observe our feelings without judgment, separating the signal from the noise. Over time, this awareness builds resilience, enabling us to respond to life's challenges with wisdom and grace. Primitive survival systems may drive complex emotions, but they do not have to control us. By understanding their origins and purposes, we can harness their energy without being overwhelmed. This balance allows us to honor our humanity while striving for the inner peace and clarity that come from living intentionally. 21. Humans are drawn to extremes. Human beings are wired to gravitate toward extremes. Whether it's the allure of intense joy, the depths of despair, or the thrill of risk, we are irresistibly pulled to the edges of our emotional and physical limits. This tendency stems from a mix of biological, psychological, and cultural factors that have shaped our evolution and continue to influence our behavior today. At the most basic level, extremes capture our attention. The brain is designed to prioritize anything that stands out as a potential threat or reward. In evolutionary terms, noticing extremes, like an unusually bright color in nature, potential danger, or a sudden loud noise, immediate threat, was critical for survival. While most of us no longer face life or death situations daily, our neural wiring remains the same, making us susceptible to extremes in other forms. Dramatic emotions, high-stakes challenges, or life-altering decisions. The extremes we seek often feel meaningful because they promise to break through the monotony of everyday life. Routine, while stabilizing, can also feel stifling. In contrast, an extreme experience, whether it's climbing a mountain, falling in love, or confronting profound loss, offers an intensity that makes us feel vividly alive. The sharpness of these moments stands in stark contrast to the dullness of routine, creating a heightened sense of awareness and purpose. However, this draw toward extremes comes with its risks. Extremes are, by nature, unsustainable. The highs can be intoxicating but fleeting, while the lows can be devastating and difficult to escape. The pursuit of one extreme often leads to the inevitable pendulum swing toward the other. For instance, seeking intense pleasure can result in burnout, and chasing emotional highs can lead to feelings of emptiness when they fade. Stoicism offers a valuable framework for navigating this tendency. The philosophy emphasizes moderation, balance, and the cultivation of a stable inner life that is not dependent on external extremes. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "If you seek tranquility, do less, or do what's essential, what the logos of a social being requires, and in the requisite way." This wisdom speaks to the need to resist the pull of extremes and focus instead on what is steady and meaningful. It's not about denying the allure of extremes, but about recognizing their transient nature. The beauty of life often lies in its subtleties, the moments of quiet growth and steady effort that build a strong foundation. By learning to find meaning in the ordinary and grounding ourselves in the present, we can escape the exhausting cycle of chasing extremes and instead cultivate a deeper, more sustainable sense of fulfillment. Humans may be drawn to extremes, but the real challenge lies in embracing the middle path, not out of fear of intensity, but out of a recognition that balance is where we find enduring peace and strength. The Stoic practice of self-reflection, intentional living, and gratitude for life's simple moments can help us appreciate the full spectrum of existence without becoming consumed by its extremes. 22. Humans often bond through shared experiences rather than abstract ideals. The connections we form with others are deeply rooted in shared experiences. While abstract ideals like love, justice, or freedom may inspire us, it is the moments we live together, filled with laughter, struggle, or triumph, that truly forge bonds. These shared experiences create a tapestry of memories and emotions, weaving our lives together in ways that ideals alone cannot achieve. Shared experiences resonate so powerfully because they are visceral and immediate. They engage our senses, emotions, and actions simultaneously, creating a holistic imprint in our minds. A team surviving a grueling challenge, friends laughing over a shared joke, or a family grieving a loss together. All these moments build connections through the rawness of living, not through intellectual agreement. In these instances, we see each other in our most authentic forms, stripped of pretense and united by the experience itself. Abstract ideals, on the other hand, often serve as a backdrop rather than the foundation of our relationships. While we may align with others based on shared values or beliefs, it is the lived expression of those values, through action and experience, that solidifies our bonds. Ideals remain theoretical until they are tested and embodied in the real world. For example, the abstract belief in teamwork becomes tangible when a group collaborates under pressure, and the ideal of compassion is realized when someone offers support during a time of need. The power of shared experiences also lies in their ability to transcend differences. People from vastly different backgrounds can bond over a shared struggle or celebration, finding common ground in the humanity of the moment. These experiences remind us that, at our core, we are all navigating life's challenges, joys, and uncertainties. The details of our lives may differ, but the emotions and responses we share create a bridge of understanding. This phenomenon aligns with Stoic philosophy, which emphasizes the interconnectedness of all humans. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "We are made for cooperation, like feet, like hands, like eyelids, like the rows of the upper and lower teeth." Shared experiences highlight this truth, demonstrating that our strength and purpose are often found in our connections with others. However, shared experiences can also reveal the fragility of relationships when they are absent. Without opportunities to engage in meaningful moments together, bonds can weaken, and abstract ideals alone may not be enough to sustain a connection. This is why nurturing relationships through shared activities, conversations, and experiences is so vital. It's not about grand gestures, but about consistently showing up and engaging with the people around us. Ultimately, humans bond not through abstract ideals alone, but through the lived moments that give those ideals meaning. By embracing opportunities to connect with others, whether through challenges, celebrations, or quiet companionship, we strengthen the fabric of our relationships and enrich our own lives. In these shared experiences, we find not only connection, but also a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. 23. Dopamine drives obsessive and compulsive behaviors when unchecked. Dopamine, often celebrated as the brain's feel-good chemical, is not merely a source of pleasure. It's the engine behind desire, motivation, and reward-seeking behaviors. However, when dopamine levels are left unchecked, its influence can spiral into obsessive and compulsive patterns that disrupt balance and clarity in life. While dopamine is essential for pushing us toward goals and providing a sense of achievement, its power can become a double-edged sword when it drives us into excess. At its core, dopamine is not about experiencing pleasure, but about anticipating it. This distinction is critical because it explains why dopamine can fuel obsessive behaviors. The anticipation of a reward triggers a surge in dopamine, propelling us to pursue that reward with single-minded focus. This mechanism, while beneficial for survival in evolutionary terms, think hunting for food or finding shelter, becomes problematic in modern life, where the stimuli for dopamine are far more numerous and less tied to survival. Consider how dopamine influences behaviors like excessive social media use, binge-watching, or even overworking. Each notification ping, episode cliffhanger, or deadline met provides a small dopamine hit, reinforcing the behavior and creating a loop of anticipation and reward. Over time, the pursuit of these small rewards can become compulsive, consuming time and energy that could be better spent on more meaningful pursuits. Unchecked dopamine can also lead to fixation. Whether it's obsessively refreshing a social media feed, checking for new emails, or chasing the next milestone in a career, the brain becomes trapped in a cycle of needing more to feel the same level of satisfaction. This compulsive pursuit is not about the intrinsic value of the activity, but about the dopamine-driven anticipation of the next hit. Stoicism offers a pathway to regain control when dopamine begins to dictate our actions. By cultivating awareness and practicing intentional detachment, we can break free from these cycles. Marcus Aurelius advised, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Recognizing when dopamine-driven behaviors start to feel obsessive is the first step toward reclaiming agency over your actions. Reframing the role of rewards in life is also essential. Instead of chasing short-term dopamine hits, focus on longer-term intrinsic motivations that align with your values and goals. This shift requires patience and discipline, but it leads to more sustainable satisfaction and prevents the burnout that often accompanies obsessive behaviors. Ultimately, dopamine is a tool, not a master. When harnessed intentionally, it can motivate us toward meaningful achievements and enrich our lives. But left unchecked, it can trap us in a cycle of endless pursuit, where the rewards we seek never truly satisfy. The challenge is not to eliminate dopamine, but to balance its influence with mindful self-awareness and a commitment to values that transcend fleeting desires. 24. Excessive dopamine diminishes its reward over time. Dopamine's role as a motivator and reward signal is powerful, but it is not infinite. Excessive dopamine stimulation, whether through social media, addictive substances, or high-intensity experiences, can erode the very rewards it promises. This diminishing return is a natural consequence of the brain's neurochemistry, which adapts to excessive dopamine by reducing sensitivity to it. The result? The same activities that once brought immense pleasure begin to feel dull, pushing us to seek even more extreme stimuli to achieve the same effect. This phenomenon, known as desensitization, is rooted in the brain's homeostasis, the need to maintain balance. When dopamine levels are chronically elevated, the brain compensates by down-regulating dopamine receptors, effectively reducing its sensitivity. Over time, this creates a cycle of dependency. More dopamine is needed to achieve the same feeling of reward, leading to overindulgence and eventually dissatisfaction. The modern world is rife with activities that exploit this dopamine feedback loop. Social media platforms, for instance, are designed to provide frequent dopamine hits through likes, comments, and shares. Similarly, binge-worthy shows, instant messaging, and even certain foods are crafted to deliver immediate gratification. While these activities may feel rewarding at first, overexposure dulls their impact, leaving us feeling empty and craving more. The long-term consequences of excessive dopamine stimulation go beyond diminished rewards. Chronic overstimulation can disrupt motivation, focus, and emotional regulation. Tasks that once felt satisfying, reading a book, engaging in a hobby, or spending time with loved ones, may lose their appeal, overshadowed by the pursuit of more intense dopamine-driven activities. Stoic philosophy provides a framework to address this challenge by encouraging moderation and the cultivation of inner resilience. Seneca wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future." This principle applies to dopamine as well. By reducing dependence on external stimuli and finding joy in simpler, more meaningful experiences, we can reset our dopamine baseline and restore balance. Practical steps to combat excessive dopamine include intentional periods of abstinence, often referred to as dopamine detoxes. By temporarily stepping away from high dopamine activities, the brain has a chance to recalibrate, making it possible to find satisfaction in everyday moments again. Additionally, focusing on activities that require effort and engagement, rather than passive consumption, can help rebuild a healthier relationship with dopamine. Excessive dopamine diminishes its rewards over time, but this is not an irreversible fate. By understanding how dopamine works and intentionally moderating our exposure to high-intensity stimuli, we can reclaim our capacity for genuine satisfaction. The journey toward balance requires patience, discipline, and a willingness to embrace life's subtler pleasures. But the rewards of this path are far more enduring than any fleeting dopamine hit. 25. Dopamine is a precursor to adrenaline, fueling pursuit, but also potential burnout. Dopamine is often associated with pleasure and reward, but its influence extends far beyond these immediate sensations. It plays a crucial role in initiating and sustaining pursuit, acting as a precursor to adrenaline, a key hormone in the body's fight-or-flight response. This connection between dopamine and adrenaline reveals a powerful interplay between motivation and stress, one that drives us to achieve, but can also lead us toward the brink of burnout if left unchecked. When dopamine surges, it triggers the release of adrenaline to prepare the body for action. This is why you feel energized and hyper-focused when you're working toward a goal, chasing a deadline, or engaging in activities that demand intense concentration. The dopamine-adrenaline relationship is the engine behind ambition and perseverance, propelling you forward when the stakes are high. However, this same mechanism comes with a hidden cost. As dopamine continues to fuel adrenaline production, the body remains in a heightened state of alertness, which, over time, can lead to chronic stress. The same surge of adrenaline that gives you the edge to excel can also deplete your reserves, leaving you fatigued, irritable, and unable to recover fully. This is the paradox of pursuit. The harder you push, the closer you come to burnout. The connection between dopamine and adrenaline also explains why high achievers often struggle with balance. Their relentless drive to pursue success fueled by dopamine, keeps adrenaline levels elevated, creating a cycle that's difficult to break. Over time, this constant state of arousal taxes the nervous system, impairing the ability to rest, recover, and maintain long-term productivity. Stoic philosophy offers a lens through which to navigate this dynamic. Marcus Aurelius emphasized the importance of balance, writing, "If you seek tranquility, do less." While the pursuit of goals is natural and necessary, it must be tempered with moments of reflection and recovery. Recognizing when your drive is tipping into overdrive is essential for avoiding the burnout that comes with unchecked dopamine and adrenaline surges. To mitigate the risks, it's crucial to build recovery into your routines. Activities like meditation, deep breathing, or even simple moments of stillness allow your nervous system to reset. These practices help lower adrenaline levels, giving your body and mind the space to recharge. Similarly, setting boundaries around work, exercise, or other high-stress pursuits can prevent the relentless cycle of dopamine-fueled adrenaline spikes. Ultimately, dopamine and adrenaline are tools, not masters. They can propel you toward your goals, but only if wielded with care. By recognizing their interplay and respecting your body's need for balance, you can harness their power without succumbing to their pitfalls. The art of managing this relationship lies in moderation, knowing when to push and when to pause, ensuring that your pursuit of success doesn't come at the cost of your well-being. 26. Perception of time is altered by dopamine levels. Dopamine, the brain's reward-seeking chemical, has a profound influence on how we perceive time. When dopamine levels are elevated, time seems to fly by, as the anticipation of reward pulls us into a state of focused engagement. Conversely, when dopamine levels are low, moments can feel drawn out and tedious, stretching endlessly as the absence of stimulation dulls our sense of progression. This fascinating relationship between dopamine and time perception sheds light on why certain experiences feel fleeting while others drag on interminably. The role of dopamine in shaping time perception is rooted in its ability to heighten focus and engagement. When you're immersed in a task or activity that excites you, whether it's solving a challenging problem, playing a game, or pursuing a passion project, dopamine floods your brain, sharpening your attention and compressing your awareness of time. This is why hours can feel like minutes when you're in a state of flow. Your brain is so absorbed in the moment that it loses track of the clock. On the flip side, a lack of dopamine can make time feel like it's crawling. Think about those moments of boredom or waiting when nothing captures your interest, and every second feels like an eternity. Without dopamine to stimulate engagement, your brain struggles to stay anchored in the present, amplifying the sensation of time dragging on. This dopamine-time connection has profound implications for how we approach productivity, relationships, and leisure. It explains why some people are drawn to high-stimulation activities that provide frequent dopamine hits, like scrolling through social media or playing video games. These activities not only offer immediate gratification, but also create the illusion that time is passing quickly, providing a temporary escape from monotony. However, this reliance on dopamine-fueled time compression can lead to a distorted relationship with time itself. Overindulgence in high dopamine activities can make less stimulating but equally valuable moments, like spending time with loved ones, reading or reflecting, feel less rewarding. The constant pursuit of stimulation trains the brain to seek instant gratification, undermining the ability to appreciate slower, more meaningful experiences. To recalibrate your perception of time, It's essential to step back from high dopamine pursuits and cultivate a deeper awareness of the present. Stoic practices, such as mindfulness and reflection, can help restore balance by teaching you to value the moment without rushing through it. Seneca famously wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." By becoming mindful of how dopamine influences your perception of time, you can reclaim those wasted moments and find fulfillment in the here and now. Practical steps include limiting exposure to activities that hijack your dopamine system, like excessive screen time or multitasking, and instead focusing on single tasking and intentional engagement. Building rituals of stillness, such as journaling, meditating, or even taking a quiet walk, can help anchor your awareness in the present, allowing you to experience time as it truly is, rather than as a distorted illusion. Understanding how dopamine alters time perception empowers you to take control of your relationship with time. By balancing stimulation with stillness and embracing moments of quiet reflection, you can break free from the rush of constant pursuit and rediscover the richness of a well-spent hour. Time, after all, is one of life's most precious resources, and learning to experience it fully is the key to living with purpose and intention. 27. Social media exploits. Dopamine systems. Through random, intermittent rewards. Social media, for all its connectivity and convenience, operates as a carefully engineered trap for your brain's dopamine systems. Its design exploits one of the most potent psychological mechanisms known to behavioral science: random, intermittent rewards. This system, which psychologists have studied in the context of gambling and addiction, ensures that you're not just using social media, but hooked on it, returning again and again for a fleeting sense of gratification. Every time you pick up your phone and scroll through your feed, you're engaging in a behavior akin to pulling the lever on a slot machine. Sometimes the reward is a like, a comment, or a notification that gives you a small dopamine boost. Other times, there's nothing of note, just a stream of unremarkable posts. The unpredictable nature of these rewards is precisely what makes them so compelling. Your brain learns to associate the act of checking your phone with the possibility of a reward, creating a loop of anticipation and reinforcement. This cycle is not accidental. Social media platforms are built to maximize engagement, leveraging the psychology of dopamine to keep you hooked. The variable nature of the rewards ensures that you keep coming back, much like a gambler who believes the next spin might just be the jackpot. Over time, this pattern of use conditions your brain to crave the novelty and excitement of the unpredictable, making it harder to break away from the habit. The consequences of this exploitation go beyond wasted time. The constant flood of dopamine from intermittent rewards desensitizes your brain's reward pathways, making it harder to derive satisfaction from other, more meaningful activities. Tasks that require sustained effort or provide slower, more enduring rewards, like deep work, meaningful conversations, or creative pursuits, begin to feel less engaging. Social media, with its rapid-fire hits of dopamine, creates a skewed sense of what's rewarding, diminishing your capacity for focus, patience, and contentment. To break free from this cycle, it's essential to recognize social media for what it is: a tool that should serve you, not a master that controls you. Begin by setting boundaries around your use. Designate specific times for checking your phone rather than succumbing to constant, impulsive scrolling. Turn off non-essential notifications to reduce the lure of intermittent rewards. Consider digital detox periods where you step away from social media entirely to recalibrate your relationship with it. Stoic philosophy provides valuable insights here. Epictetus reminds us, "You are the master of your choices." By reclaiming your agency over how you engage with technology, you can escape the grip of social media's dopamine-driven loop. Use it intentionally, not compulsively, and redirect your energy toward pursuits that offer deeper and more lasting fulfillment. Remember, true contentment isn't found in the randomness of likes and shares, but in the deliberate cultivation of a life aligned with your values. 28. High dopamine activities. Lower overall satisfaction. Activities that provide intense dopamine hits, like social media, binge-watching, or even excessive gaming, might seem pleasurable in the moment, but they come with a hidden cost. These high dopamine pursuits condition your brain to crave ever-increasing levels of stimulation, leaving you less satisfied with the simpler, slower pleasures of everyday life. Over time, this leads to a diminishing return on joy, creating a cycle of dissatisfaction and craving that's difficult to escape. Dopamine is the chemical of anticipation, not fulfillment. It drives you to seek out rewards, but doesn't ensure you'll find lasting satisfaction in them. When you engage in high dopamine activities, your brain is flooded with this chemical, creating a temporary sense of excitement and pleasure. However, as the dopamine levels inevitably drop, what's left is a void, a feeling of emptiness or boredom that compels you to seek out the next hit. This pattern becomes particularly problematic when high dopamine activities dominate your life. The constant pursuit of intense rewards rewires your brain, raising its baseline for what feels pleasurable. Activities that once brought you joy, like a walk in nature, a conversation with a friend, or the simple act of cooking a meal, start to feel dull by comparison. Your brain has been overstimulated, and now it craves the extraordinary, making the ordinary less appealing. The Stoics understood the importance of moderation and balance, and their teachings offer a remedy to this modern dilemma. By embracing simplicity and practicing gratitude for the small joys of life, you can begin to recalibrate your brain's reward system. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." This perspective is a powerful antidote to the dissatisfaction that arises from high dopamine pursuits. To counteract the effects of overstimulation, consider incorporating intentional periods of low dopamine activities into your routine. These might include mindfulness practices, spending time in nature, or engaging in hobbies that require patience and creativity. By reducing your reliance on instant gratification, you give your brain the space it needs to reset, restoring your ability to find joy in life's simpler pleasures. High dopamine activities can be enjoyable in moderation, but when they dominate your life, they distort your perception of happiness and fulfillment. By understanding their impact and making conscious choices to balance them with slower, more meaningful pursuits, you can reclaim a sense of satisfaction and contentment. True happiness isn't about chasing the next high. It's about finding peace and joy in the moments that matter. 29. Addiction to dopamine peaks leads to a state of pain when those peaks diminish. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for motivation and reward, is a powerful driver of human behavior. It propels you toward goals, fuels your ambitions, and provides a sense of excitement about life's possibilities. But when dopamine is overstimulated, whether through social media, binge eating, gaming, or other intense activities, it sets up a dangerous cycle that can lead to addiction. The allure of the peak, That surge of pleasure and anticipation becomes irresistible. Yet, what follows these highs is not satisfaction, but pain. When dopamine peaks occur frequently, the brain becomes desensitized. The receptors that process dopamine adapt to the constant overstimulation, demanding more and more to achieve the same effect. This phenomenon, known as tolerance, creates a cycle of chasing ever higher peaks to avoid the inevitable crash that follows. And those crashes, they're not just emotional, they're physiological. The brain's baseline levels of dopamine drop, leading to feelings of fatigue, dissatisfaction, and even depression. Imagine climbing a mountain, exhilarated by the view at the top, only to find that every subsequent climb requires a higher summit to feel the same thrill. The valleys between climbs become deeper and more desolate. This is the trap of dopamine addiction. The peaks promise euphoria, but the lows become darker with every ascent. Over time, the very activities that once brought joy become a source of discomfort, as the brain craves relief from its own imbalances. The pain of diminished dopamine peaks doesn't just affect your mood, it impacts your ability to focus, make decisions, and find meaning in everyday life. Activities that once felt fulfilling, reading a book, enjoying a quiet meal, or engaging in meaningful conversation, may lose their appeal. The constant pursuit of stimulation rewires the brain to prioritize short-term rewards over long-term fulfillment, making it harder to engage in tasks that require patience, effort, or delayed gratification. Breaking free from this cycle requires a deliberate effort to reset the brain's reward system. The Stoics, who emphasized self-control and moderation, provide a framework for this. Epictetus reminds us, freedom is the power to control our desires, not be controlled by them. To regain freedom from dopamine addiction, one must embrace discomfort, practice restraint, and find joy in simplicity. Start by intentionally reducing high dopamine activities. Limit time spent on social media or other stimulating platforms. Replace them with pursuits that offer slower, more sustainable rewards, like exercise, meditation, or creative hobbies. These activities might feel dull at first, but with time, they'll help recalibrate your brain's reward pathways. Embrace moments of stillness and reflection, allowing yourself to feel the discomfort of the withdrawal phase. It's in these moments that true growth occurs. Dopamine addiction may promise endless highs, but its cost is a life dominated by lows. By stepping away from the cycle of peaks and crashes, you can rediscover the satisfaction that comes from balance, discipline, and meaningful engagement with the world around you. 30. Rewarding efforts without achievement undermines motivation. In a world that often emphasizes participation over accomplishment, the act of rewarding effort without tangible achievement has become commonplace. While encouragement and recognition are important, the overuse of unearned rewards can have unintended consequences. It undermines the very motivation it seeks to foster, creating a mindset that values appearances over substance. Rewarding effort without achievement sends a subtle message. The result doesn't matter, only the attempt does. While this may seem empowering, it diminishes the intrinsic value of hard work and perseverance. Achievements, no matter how small, carry a sense of fulfillment because they signify progress, mastery, and the overcoming of challenges. When rewards are divorced from results, they lose their meaning, leaving individuals feeling unfulfilled despite the recognition they receive. This phenomenon is particularly evident in environments where praise is given indiscriminately. Participation trophies, unchecked validation, and constant affirmations can create a culture where striving for excellence is replaced by complacency with mediocrity. Over time, this erodes the drive to push boundaries, take risks, and embrace challenges. Why strive for greatness if the rewards are the same for simply showing up? The human brain is wired to associate rewards with effort, but only when that effort leads to a meaningful outcome. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter of reward, spikes when you achieve something tangible, a completed task, a solved problem, a conquered obstacle. However, when rewards are given without achievement, the brain learns to devalue them. The motivation to strive diminishes, replaced by a sense of entitlement or apathy. The Stoics had a clear understanding of this principle. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." The emphasis here is on action and results, not empty gestures or superficial validation. To cultivate true motivation, it's essential to align rewards with meaningful accomplishments. To counteract the effects of unearned rewards, focus on setting clear, measurable goals. Break tasks into achievable milestones and celebrate progress when it's earned. This reinforces the connection between effort and outcome, reigniting the brain's natural reward system. Resist the temptation to seek validation for incomplete or superficial efforts. Instead, embrace the satisfaction that comes from genuine accomplishment. Motivation thrives on challenge and growth. By rewarding only meaningful achievements, you preserve the integrity of your efforts and inspire a mindset of resilience and determination. In the long run, this approach fosters deeper satisfaction, greater confidence, and a life driven by purpose rather than superficial recognition. True fulfillment isn't found in applause for showing up. It's found in the quiet pride of knowing you've earned your success. 31. Extreme stimuli. Create unrealistic thresholds for satisfaction. In today's world, the availability of extreme stimuli is unprecedented. Whether it's high-definition video games, intense social media interactions, binge-worthy streaming content, or hyper-palatable foods, the environment constantly bombards us with experiences designed to hijack our senses. While these stimuli might seem harmless or even pleasurable in the short term, they quietly rewrite the brain's baseline for satisfaction, creating unrealistic thresholds that make ordinary life feel dull and uninspiring. The problem with extreme stimuli is that they overwhelm the brain's reward system. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for pleasure and motivation, spikes to unnatural levels during exposure to these intense experiences. Over time, the brain adapts to these highs, recalibrating what it perceives as normal. Everyday activities, things like taking a walk, reading a book, or having a meaningful conversation, pale in comparison to the dopamine flood triggered by artificial extremes. It's not that these ordinary experiences lose their value inherently. It's that your brain, conditioned by overstimulation, becomes desensitized to their subtler joys. Consider how a generation raised on sugary sodas finds plain water unappealing, or how social media likes and notifications make quiet solitude feel unbearably dull. These are not flaws in the activities themselves, but symptoms of a system overwhelmed by extremes. As the threshold for satisfaction rises, so does the need for ever greater intensity to feel the same level of pleasure. This creates a cycle where what once brought joy no longer suffices, leading to restlessness, dissatisfaction, and an insatiable craving for more. The Stoics understood the value of moderation and simplicity long before dopamine pathways were understood. They cautioned against indulging in extremes, recognizing that such behaviors only deepen dependence and diminish resilience. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." In this context, the craving for heightened experiences is a form of poverty, a deficit of inner peace and contentment. Breaking free from the trap of extreme stimuli requires a deliberate reset of your brain's reward system. Begin by embracing simplicity and intentionally reducing exposure to hyper-stimulating activities. This doesn't mean rejecting modern conveniences or pleasures entirely, but finding a balance where they no longer dominate your sense of fulfillment. Engage in activities that foster genuine connection and presence, long conversations, creative pursuits, or time in nature. These experiences, while less intense, offer a deeper, more sustainable sense of joy. Reclaiming satisfaction in the ordinary is not a step backward, but a profound act of liberation. By lowering the artificial threshold set by extreme stimuli, you allow yourself to rediscover the richness of life's simple pleasures. The Stoics remind us that true contentment is not found in chasing the extraordinary, but in appreciating the beauty of what is already within reach. 32. Excessive pursuit of external dopamine. Sources: hinders self-regulation. Dopamine, often called the feel-good neurotransmitter, is a double-edged sword. While it drives motivation and rewards, an excessive pursuit of external dopamine sources can wreak havoc on your ability to self-regulate. Activities like scrolling through social media, indulging in junk food, or seeking validation from others may offer quick hits of pleasure, but they undermine the discipline and balance needed for long-term well-being. The allure of external dopamine lies in its immediacy. It's far easier to grab your phone and lose yourself in a stream of notifications than to sit quietly with your thoughts or focus on a challenging task. Over time, this reliance on external stimuli weakens your capacity for internal control. Self-regulation, the ability to delay gratification, resist temptation, and act with intention, requires a stable and balanced dopamine system. When that system is constantly hijacked by artificial highs, your ability to manage impulses and maintain focus deteriorates. Imagine your brain as a well-balanced ecosystem. External dopamine sources act as invasive species, disrupting the natural harmony and crowding out the slower, more sustainable processes of intrinsic motivation. Instead of finding joy in effort, growth, or meaningful accomplishments, you become dependent on fleeting pleasures that provide diminishing returns. This creates a cycle of craving and consumption, where each fix leaves you feeling emptier and less in control than before. The Stoics understood this dynamic long before neuroscience provided the mechanisms behind it. They advocated for mastery over desires and cautioned against becoming a slave to external circumstances. Epictetus famously stated, "No man is free who is not master of himself." In the context of dopamine, this means cultivating the ability to find satisfaction within, rather than constantly seeking it from the outside world. Rebuilding self-regulation requires a conscious effort to break the cycle of dependence. Start by identifying your primary sources of external dopamine, whether it's social media, sugary snacks, or constant validation, and set clear boundaries around their use. Replace them with activities that foster intrinsic rewards, like physical exercise, mindfulness practices, or creative endeavors. These alternatives may feel less immediately gratifying, but they build resilience and restore balance to your brain's reward system. As you reclaim control over your impulses, you'll find that the need for external stimulation diminishes. The quiet satisfaction of a job well done or the simple pleasure of a calm moment becomes more than enough. This shift not only strengthens your self-regulation, but also aligns you with the Stoic ideal of inner freedom. In the end, true mastery is not about suppressing desires entirely, but about channeling them toward what truly matters. 33. Positive anticipation, without follow-through, causes dopamine crashes. Positive anticipation can be a powerful motivator. The excitement of an upcoming event, the thrill of planning a goal, or the simple expectation of something pleasurable can release a surge of dopamine. It's the mind's way of gearing up for action, preparing you to pursue what you desire. But what happens when that anticipation isn't met with follow-through? When you anticipate without acting, you set yourself up for a dopamine crash that can leave you feeling deflated, demotivated, and frustrated. The human brain is wired to reward the pursuit of goals, not just their achievement. Dopamine is released not only when you accomplish something, but also as you work toward it. This release keeps you motivated, giving you the energy and focus to persist. However, if the process ends prematurely, if you stop chasing the goal or abandon the plan, the brain experiences a jarring drop in dopamine levels. It's as though the momentum you've built hits an abrupt wall, leaving you in a state of emotional freefall. Imagine the joy of planning a vacation. You might envision the beaches, the relaxation, the escape from routine. Your mind races with possibilities, releasing a steady stream of dopamine as you anticipate the experience. But then, for whatever reason, you cancel the trip or fail to make concrete plans. The anticipation turns into disappointment, and the dopamine surge plummets, leaving you feeling worse than if you had never planned the trip at all. This phenomenon extends to everyday life. People often make lofty plans, starting a new fitness routine, learning a skill, or launching a personal project, only to lose momentum before they take meaningful action. The initial excitement dissipates, and the absence of follow-through turns into a lingering sense of failure. Over time, this pattern can erode confidence and create a habit of abandoning goals, reinforcing the cycle of anticipation without fulfillment. The Stoics were acutely aware of the dangers of unfulfilled potential. They emphasized action over idle promises and warned against the paralysis of overthinking. Well-being is attained by little and little, Marcus Aurelius wrote, highlighting the importance of consistent effort. It's not the grand plans that define us, but the steps we take to realize them. To avoid dopamine crashes caused by unfulfilled anticipation, prioritize action over endless planning. Start small, setting achievable goals that can be completed in the short term. Each step you take, no matter how minor, sustains the momentum and keeps dopamine levels steady. Instead of living in the hypothetical, commit to tangible actions that align with your aspirations. This approach not only prevents the emotional letdown of abandoned plans, but also reinforces a sense of self-efficacy. Each small victory builds confidence and trains your brain to associate effort with reward. Over time, you'll find that the joy of taking action far outweighs the fleeting thrill of anticipation. By grounding your dreams in action, you transform them from ephemeral fantasies into meaningful realities. 34. Intrinsic motivation is the most sustainable form of reward. In a world that often equates success with external validation, money, fame, likes and accolades, it's easy to lose sight of the power of intrinsic motivation. Unlike external rewards, which rely on factors outside your control, intrinsic motivation is driven by internal fulfillment. It's the quiet satisfaction of doing something because it aligns with your values, sparks your curiosity, or simply brings you joy. This form of motivation is not only more sustainable, but also far more resilient in the face of setbacks and challenges. External rewards are like fireworks, bright, flashy, and short-lived. They create a momentary high, but often leave you chasing the next explosion to replicate the feeling. Intrinsic motivation, on the other hand, is like a steady flame. It may not burn as brightly, but it endures, providing consistent warmth and light even when external circumstances change. It's what keeps a writer returning to the page, a musician practicing their craft, or an athlete training before dawn, not for recognition, but for the love of the process. The trouble with relying on external rewards is their diminishing returns. What feels thrilling the first time, a promotion, a round of applause, or a viral post, loses its luster with repetition. As you acclimate to the achievement, the brain's dopamine response diminishes, leaving you seeking ever greater rewards to feel the same satisfaction. This cycle can lead to burnout, disillusionment, and a sense of emptiness when external validation fails to materialize. Intrinsic motivation, however, is immune to this diminishing effect. It thrives on the process rather than the outcome. A painter who loses themselves in the act of creating, or a runner who finds joy in the rhythm of their strides, experiences a reward that cannot be taken away or devalued. This inner drive fuels persistence and resilience, allowing you to push through obstacles and setbacks because the act itself is its own reward. The Stoics championed this principle long before it had a name. Epictetus reminded us that true freedom lies in focusing on what is within our control, which includes our intentions and efforts. When you act from a place of intrinsic motivation, you reclaim that freedom. You are no longer at the mercy of external approval or material success. Instead, you find fulfillment in the act of living authentically and purposefully. Cultivating intrinsic motivation requires a shift in mindset. Instead of asking, "What will I gain from this?" ask, "Why does this matter to me?" Reflect on your values and passions and align your actions with them. Practice gratitude for the process, even when the results are uncertain or imperfect. Over time, you'll find that the act of showing up, whether to create, learn, or grow, is its own reward. Intrinsic motivation not only enriches your personal journey, but also strengthens your resilience. When external rewards fail or fade, your inner drive remains intact, propelling you forward. This self-sustaining force aligns perfectly with the Stoic ideal of living in harmony with your true nature, unshaken by the whims of fortune. By nurturing intrinsic motivation, you build a foundation of purpose and fulfillment that no external force can undermine. 35. High dopamine. Peaks destroy long-term motivation. Dopamine is a fascinating chemical, often called the motivation molecule, because of its role in driving us to pursue rewards. It's what makes us feel energized, focused, and eager to achieve. However, like anything in life, too much of a good thing can have devastating effects. When dopamine peaks excessively through indulgence in instant gratification, high-stimulus activities, or shortcuts to pleasure, it wreaks havoc on your brain's reward system and, over time, destroys long-term motivation. High dopamine peaks are like sugar for the brain. They give you a quick, euphoric rush, but leave you depleted and craving more. Activities like binging on social media, playing video games for hours, or indulging in substances like alcohol or drugs all spike dopamine levels to unnatural heights. While these moments feel incredible, they come at a cost. Your brain begins to expect that level of stimulation as the baseline for pleasure. As a result, the everyday joys of life, reading a book, taking a walk, or even completing meaningful work, start to feel dull and unfulfilling. The problem with high dopamine peaks is their unsustainability. They create a cycle of dependency where you constantly chase the next hit to replicate the initial rush. This pursuit leads to a diminishing return as your brain adjusts to the overload by reducing its sensitivity to dopamine. Over time, you may find yourself unmotivated to engage in activities that once brought you joy unless they deliver the same intense stimulation. This is how long-term motivation erodes, leaving you feeling empty, restless, and often stuck in a cycle of unproductive habits. Imagine a musician who first picked up their instrument for the love of creating music. They practice for hours, driven by passion and the intrinsic satisfaction of improvement. Then, one day, they post a performance online and receive a flood of likes, shares, and praise. The dopamine rush is intoxicating. Over time, they may start chasing external validation rather than the joy of playing. If the likes diminish or disappear, the once motivated musician might lose interest altogether. The very act they loved becomes tied to an unsustainable feedback loop of external rewards. To rebuild long-term motivation, you must rewire your relationship with dopamine. This begins with cutting back on high dopamine activities that artificially inflate your reward system. It's not about completely abandoning pleasure, but learning to experience it in moderation. Engage in activities that provide steady, moderate dopamine releases rather than peaks. Things like exercise, learning, or meaningful conversations. These activities help reset your brain's baseline, making everyday joys more fulfilling again. The Stoics understood this principle long before science explained it. They advocated for temperance and self-control, warning against the dangers of overindulgence. By embracing moderation and finding contentment in simple pleasures, you reclaim the ability to stay motivated over the long term. Purposeful effort becomes its own reward, free from the highs and lows of dopamine spikes. Restoring long-term motivation requires patience and discipline. Start by focusing on the process rather than the outcome. Celebrate small wins, savor moments of effort, and learn to find joy in the journey itself. Over time, you'll notice that your capacity for sustained effort grows, and the fulfillment you derive from everyday life deepens. High dopamine peaks may promise quick gratification, but the steady flame of balanced motivation will carry you further. 36. Stress can grow resilience, but must be balanced with recovery. Stress is often cast as the villain in the story of life, blamed for everything from health problems to emotional breakdowns. And while chronic stress is indeed damaging, not all stress is bad. In fact, stress, when managed properly, can be a powerful tool for growth, resilience, and self-improvement. The key lies in how you handle it. Stress becomes beneficial only when it is balanced with intentional recovery. Think of stress as a workout for your mind and body. When you lift weights, you're creating micro-tears in your muscles. These tears, when repaired, make the muscles stronger. Similarly, stress challenges your mental and emotional capacities, pushing you to grow and adapt. Without any stress, you stagnate. With too much stress and no recovery, you break down. It's the balance between stress and recovery that leads to resilience. The Stoics viewed challenges and adversities as opportunities to strengthen character. Marcus Aurelius famously wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This perspective encourages us to embrace stress not as an enemy, but as a catalyst for growth. However, even the most disciplined Stoic would acknowledge the necessity of rest. A soldier cannot fight endlessly without food, sleep, and reprieve. Modern life often bombards us with stresses that feel relentless. Work deadlines, family responsibilities, financial pressures, and even the constant noise of notifications. In this environment, it's easy to fall into a cycle of chronic stress, where the body and mind are constantly in fight-or-flight mode. This prolonged state of alertness wears down your systems, leading to fatigue, poor decision-making, and eventually burnout. Recovery is the antidote. It's during rest that your body repairs itself, your mind processes challenges, and your emotions find equilibrium. Recovery doesn't have to mean doing nothing. Active recovery, like taking a walk in nature, practicing mindfulness, or engaging in creative hobbies, can be just as effective as sleep or relaxation. The key is to allow yourself periods of low stress where you can recharge and rebuild. Consider the wisdom of the Stoics when they emphasized control over what is within your power. You cannot eliminate stress entirely, nor should you try. Instead, focus on how you respond to it. Build routines that incorporate recovery as a non-negotiable part of your day. This might mean setting boundaries around your work hours, prioritizing sleep, or even practicing gratitude to shift your perspective on stresses. Over time, this balance of stress and recovery strengthens your resilience. You'll find that you can handle greater challenges without feeling overwhelmed, and your capacity to bounce back improves. Just as an athlete trains their body with cycles of exertion and rest, you can train your mind to grow stronger through the intentional use of stress. Recovery isn't a sign of weakness, it's a cornerstone of strength. 37. Over-reliance on external validation weakens self-sufficiency. The hunger for external validation is an innate human trait. From a young age, we are conditioned to seek approval from parents, teachers, peers, and later, society at large. This external affirmation reassures us that we are on the right path, that we belong, and that we are valued. But like any crutch, reliance on external validation can become a trap, one that weakens your sense of self-sufficiency and autonomy. External validation is like building a house on rented land. It might seem sturdy and secure at first, but it is inherently unstable. When your sense of self-worth is tied to the approval of others, you relinquish control over your happiness and confidence. A compliment can lift your spirits, but a harsh critique can shatter them. This leaves you vulnerable to the whims of others and perpetuates a cycle of dependency where your self-esteem rises and falls based on external feedback. Consider social media, the ultimate breeding ground for external validation. Each like, share, or comment provides a dopamine hit, making you feel recognized and appreciated. But what happens when the likes dwindle or the comments turn negative? If you've placed too much stock in these fleeting affirmations, their absence can leave you feeling empty, anxious, or even unworthy. The problem isn't the external validation itself, but the over-reliance on it to define your value. The Stoics emphasize the importance of internal validation, of finding contentment and self-worth within. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. This isn't an invitation to seek criticism, but a reminder that true self-sufficiency comes from valuing your own judgment over the opinions of others. When you live by your principles, aligned with your values, external validation becomes a bonus, not a necessity. Building self-sufficiency requires shifting your focus inward. Instead of seeking approval, seek growth. Ask yourself, are you proud of the effort you put in? Did you act in accordance with your values? These are the metrics that truly matter. By prioritizing internal validation, you fortify your resilience against external noise. You become less concerned with what others think and more aligned with your authentic self. This doesn't mean ignoring feedback altogether. Constructive criticism can be invaluable for growth, but it should complement your internal evaluation, not replace it. Learn to distinguish between feedback that helps you grow and feedback that serves no purpose other than to undermine your confidence. When you ground your self-worth in your actions, values, and character, external validation becomes an optional extra, not a lifeline. Over time, this shift from external to internal validation cultivates a profound sense of independence and confidence. You'll find that you no longer crave applause to feel worthy, nor fear judgment to the same extent. Instead, you stand firm in the knowledge that your worth is intrinsic, unshakable, and immune to the fleeting opinions of others. In this strength lies true freedom. 38. Beliefs and expectations. Alter. Physiological outcomes. The connection between mind and body is far more profound than we often realize. What you believe and expect can shape your physiological reality, influencing everything from your stress levels to your ability to heal. This phenomenon, often studied under the placebo effect, highlights the remarkable power of the mind to impact physical outcomes. Beliefs act as internal blueprints that the body follows. When you expect a positive outcome, whether from a treatment, a goal, or a challenging situation, your body often aligns with that expectation. For example, studies have shown that patients who believe in the efficacy of a medication experience better results, even when given a placebo. The mere belief triggers physiological changes, such as reduced stress hormones and enhanced immune response, that support healing. Conversely, negative beliefs can have the opposite effect. This is known as the nocebo effect, where expecting a negative outcome can manifest actual harm. If you constantly tell yourself that you're unworthy, unwell, or doomed to fail, your body reacts accordingly. Stress hormones surge, immune function declines, and your resilience diminishes. Over time, these physiological responses compound, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy of poor health or outcomes. The Stoics understood this interplay between mind and body long before modern science confirmed it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." By shaping your beliefs and expectations, you shape your reality. This isn't about magical thinking, but about leveraging the mind's power to influence your physical and emotional state. Imagine two athletes preparing for a competition. One visualizes success, believes in their training, and expects to perform well. The other focuses on potential failures, doubts their preparation, and anticipates defeat. Even if both have trained equally hard, their beliefs and expectations can significantly impact their performance. The confident athlete is more likely to tap into their full potential, while the doubtful one might underperform due to stress and hesitation. To harness the power of beliefs, cultivate a mindset rooted in optimism and resilience. This doesn't mean ignoring challenges or denying reality, but choosing to focus on possibilities rather than limitations. Reframe setbacks as opportunities to learn and grow, and remind yourself of past successes as evidence of your capability. When you align your beliefs with positive expectations, you create the conditions for success. Meditation, affirmations, and visualization are powerful tools for shaping beliefs. These practices help you rewire your thought patterns, replacing negativity with constructive, empowering narratives. Over time, these shifts in mindset influence not only your mental state, but also your physical health and performance. Beliefs and expectations are not mere thoughts. They are forces that shape your reality. By taking control of them, you take control of your physiological and emotional outcomes. The key is to choose beliefs that serve you, expectations that empower you, and a mindset that aligns with the person you aspire to be. In doing so, you unlock the full potential of the mind-body connection, paving the way for a healthier, more fulfilling life. 39. Excessive focus on immediate gratification diminishes future resilience. The allure of immediate gratification is as old as humanity itself. We are hardwired to seek pleasure and avoid pain, a survival mechanism inherited from our ancestors. Back then, this instinct served a vital purpose. Seizing the opportunity to eat, rest, or take shelter ensured survival in unpredictable environments. However, in today's world, where comfort is abundant and temptations are everywhere, this instinct often works against us, eroding our resilience and long-term well-being. Immediate gratification provides a fleeting sense of satisfaction, whether it's the rush of dopamine from scrolling through social media, indulging in junk food, or procrastinating important tasks for more pleasurable distractions. These moments feel good in the short term, but come at a cost. They rob us of the ability to endure discomfort, delay rewards, and work toward meaningful goals, qualities that are the bedrock of resilience. The problem with constant gratification is that it creates a feedback loop. Each time we give in to instant pleasure, our brain reinforces this behavior, making it harder to resist in the future. It's like strengthening the wrong muscle. Over time, we become less equipped to handle adversity or delay gratification, leaving us vulnerable to stress, disappointment, and failure. The Stoics warned against succumbing to fleeting pleasures. Epictetus famously said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Immediate gratification enslaves us to our impulses, whereas the ability to delay gratification frees us to pursue higher goals." True resilience comes from choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term indulgence. Consider the story of a student preparing for an important exam. They have two choices: spend the evening studying or binge-watch their favorite series. The latter offers instant pleasure, but at the expense of future success. By resisting the urge to watch TV and choosing to study instead, the student builds discipline, gains knowledge, and enhances their chances of achieving their goal. The act of delaying gratification strengthens their resilience, making them more capable of handling future challenges. Building resilience requires practicing self-discipline and embracing discomfort as a necessary part of growth. It means choosing the salad over the burger, the gym over the couch, and the book over endless scrolling on your phone. These small daily decisions compound over time, shaping a stronger, more resilient you. The beauty of delaying gratification lies in the depth of the rewards it brings. The satisfaction of achieving a long-term goal far outweighs the fleeting pleasure of indulging in the moment. It's the difference between a life of meaningful accomplishment and one of superficial enjoyment. Each time you resist the pull of instant gratification, you reaffirm your commitment to your values and goals, strengthening your inner resolve. Excessive focus on immediate gratification may offer temporary comfort, but it weakens your ability to withstand adversity and pursue long-term fulfillment. By consciously shifting your focus to long-term rewards, you cultivate the resilience needed to navigate life's challenges and achieve your highest potential. 40. Mismanagement of stress and reward systems leads to severe consequences. The human body is a finely tuned system designed to handle stress and rewards in balanced doses. When managed well, these systems propel us toward growth, resilience, and fulfillment. But when mismanaged, they become destructive, leading to severe physical, emotional, and psychological consequences. Stress in moderation is not inherently harmful. It's a natural response that prepares us to face challenges, sharpening our focus and energizing our actions. However, chronic stress is a different story. When stress becomes a constant in your life, it overwhelms your body and mind, triggering a cascade of negative effects. Elevated cortisol levels weaken your immune system, disrupt sleep, and impair cognitive function. Over time, chronic stress can lead to anxiety, depression, heart disease, and even cognitive decline. The reward system, governed largely by dopamine, plays an equally critical role. It motivates us to pursue goals, learn new skills, and achieve success. But when this system is overstimulated through excessive use of social media, junk food, or other instant gratification, it becomes dysregulated. The constant pursuit of quick rewards diminishes the brain's ability to appreciate simple pleasures or work toward long-term goals. This creates a cycle of dependency, where higher and more frequent doses of stimulation are needed to achieve the same level of satisfaction. The interplay between stress and the reward system is particularly dangerous. Stress often drives us to seek relief through instant gratification, such as comfort eating, binge-watching, or other escapist behaviors. These temporary fixes provide short-term relief but exacerbate the problem in the long run, reinforcing unhealthy habits and perpetuating the cycle of stress and reward seeking. The consequences of mismanaging these systems are profound. Physically, chronic stress and reward system dysregulation lead to fatigue, weight gain, and increased vulnerability to illness. Emotionally, they result in feelings of dissatisfaction, burnout, and a diminished sense of purpose. Psychologically, they erode self-control, impair decision-making, and weaken resilience. The Stoics understood the importance of managing internal states to achieve a balanced life. They taught the value of moderation, mindfulness, and intentionality in navigating stress and rewards. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This wisdom underscores the need to take control of your internal systems rather than letting them control you. To manage stress effectively, adopt practices that promote relaxation and resilience. Mindfulness, meditation, and intentional breathing are powerful tools for calming the mind and resetting the body's stress response. Exercise is another effective way to release tension and improve your mood. By incorporating these habits into your daily routine, you can prevent stress from overwhelming your system. Similarly, take steps to regulate your reward system. Limit your exposure to instant gratification triggers, such as excessive screen time or unhealthy snacks. Instead, focus on activities that offer deeper, more meaningful rewards, such as pursuing hobbies, building relationships, or working toward long-term goals. The key is to create a balance that allows you to enjoy life's pleasures without becoming enslaved by them. The mismanagement of stress and reward systems is not a minor issue. It's a critical factor that shapes your health, happiness, and ability to thrive. By taking deliberate steps to balance these systems, you reclaim control over your life, paving the way for resilience, fulfillment, and lasting well-being. 41. Random intermittent rewards are more effective for motivation. The concept of random intermittent rewards has long been recognized as one of the most powerful motivators in both human behavior and animal psychology. Unlike consistent rewards, which eventually lose their impact, random rewards create a sense of unpredictability that keeps the brain engaged, hopeful, and motivated. This principle explains why activities like gambling, social media, and even video games can become so addictive. They tap into our innate desire for variability and surprise. When you receive a reward at random intervals, your brain releases dopamine in anticipation of the next potential win. This unpredictability keeps you engaged, constantly seeking that next hit of satisfaction. The mechanism behind this is simple yet profound. When rewards are inconsistent, you don't know when to expect them, so you keep trying, driven by the possibility that the next attempt might yield success. It's the same reason why slot machines are so effective. They create a cycle of effort, anticipation, and occasional reward that becomes almost irresistible. In daily life, the principle of random, intermittent rewards can be harnessed for positive outcomes. For example, if you're working on a challenging project, rewarding yourself randomly rather than predictably for small accomplishments can help sustain your motivation. Imagine you're writing a report. Instead of treating yourself to a coffee after every paragraph, you could decide to reward yourself after a certain amount of work, but keep the timing or criteria flexible. This keeps the process engaging and prevents the reward from becoming routine or expected. This concept also explains why predictable rewards lose their motivational power over time. When you know exactly when a reward will arrive, the novelty wears off, and the behavior it reinforces becomes less compelling. In contrast, randomness sustains interest and effort because it taps into our natural curiosity and need for discovery. The Stoics would likely caution against becoming overly reliant on external rewards, whether random or consistent, as the ultimate source of motivation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This wisdom reminds us to focus on internal rewards, satisfaction derived from personal growth, virtue, and alignment with our values. However, when applied mindfully, random intermittent rewards can be a powerful tool for cultivating discipline and perseverance. For example, if you're trying to build a habit like exercising, you might reward yourself randomly with something enjoyable, a favorite meal, a movie night, or a day off, when you achieve a milestone. The key is to use randomness strategically to sustain interest without becoming dependent on it. Understanding the power of random rewards also helps us recognize when this mechanism is being exploited. Social media platforms and apps often use this principle to keep users hooked, providing unpredictable likes, comments, or notifications to stimulate dopamine-driven engagement. Awareness of this manipulation allows us to reclaim control over our attention and focus it on pursuits that truly matter. Random, intermittent rewards are not just a psychological quirk. They're a testament to the complexity of human motivation. By understanding and applying this principle wisely, you can maintain engagement, foster discipline, and pursue meaningful goals without falling prey to mindless addiction or distraction. 42. Self-discipline and intentional routines are essential for success. Success is not the result of luck, talent, or even intelligence alone. It's the product of consistent effort, fueled by self-discipline and guided by intentional routines. While motivation can be fleeting, discipline is the steady force that propels you forward, even when enthusiasm wanes or obstacles arise. Self-discipline begins with a decision, the choice to prioritize long-term goals over immediate gratification. It's the willingness to endure discomfort, delay rewards, and stay committed to the process, even when the results are not immediately visible. The Stoics understood this well. Epictetus advised, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Intentional routines provide the structure needed to cultivate discipline. They transform abstract goals into actionable steps, creating a framework that eliminates the need for constant decision-making. When routines are in place, you don't have to rely on willpower alone to make the right choices. They become automatic, woven into the fabric of your daily life. Consider the story of an artist who dreams of mastering their craft. Without discipline and routine, their aspirations remain just that, a dream. But with intentional practice, dedicating time each day to sketching, painting, or learning new techniques, they gradually improve. Success is not the result of a single burst of inspiration, but the accumulation of small, consistent efforts over time. The beauty of self-discipline lies in its ability to create freedom. At first glance, discipline may seem restrictive, as it requires sacrificing immediate pleasures. However, by committing to disciplined routines, you free yourself from the chaos of indecision, procrastination, and regret. Discipline allows you to take control of your life, aligning your actions with your values and goals. Building discipline requires starting small and being consistent. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. Instead, focus on creating manageable routines that support your objectives. For example, if you want to improve your fitness, commit to exercising for 15 minutes each day, rather than attempting an unrealistic workout schedule. As the habit takes root, you can gradually expand it. Intentional routines also help you navigate setbacks. Life is unpredictable and challenges are inevitable. But when you have a routine to fall back on, you're less likely to abandon your goals in the face of adversity. Your routines become an anchor, keeping you steady and focused even in turbulent times. Success is not about perfection, it's about persistence. Self-discipline and intentional routines provide the foundation for this persistence, enabling you to keep moving forward one step at a time. By embracing these principles, you not only achieve your goals, but also cultivate a sense of purpose, fulfillment, and resilience that enriches every aspect of your life. 43. Cold exposure and heat effects on the body. The human body is a marvel of adaptability, designed to endure a wide range of environmental conditions. Cold exposure and heat both play significant roles in how our bodies respond, adapt, and ultimately thrive or deteriorate depending on how these elements are managed. Cold exposure has gained significant attention for its benefits, particularly in areas like resilience, metabolism, and mental clarity. When the body encounters cold, it activates mechanisms to preserve core temperature and protect vital organs. Shivering is a well-known response, but beneath the surface, cold exposure triggers processes that go far deeper. It stimulates brown fat activation, a special type of fat that burns calories to generate heat, improving metabolic efficiency. Additionally, brief exposure to cold can enhance circulation by constricting and dilating blood vessels, which can benefit cardiovascular health over time. Perhaps more intriguing is the psychological impact of cold exposure. When you step into an icy shower or submerge in cold water, there's an immediate surge of stress hormones like adrenaline and norepinephrine. While this might seem counterproductive, it actually trains your body to better manage stress in the long term. Regular cold exposure builds mental resilience, teaching your mind to stay calm under discomfort, a cornerstone of Stoic practice. Heat exposure, on the other hand, offers its own unique benefits. Saunas, for example, have been linked to improved cardiovascular health, detoxification through sweating, and even enhanced mood. Heat exposure causes blood vessels to dilate, improving circulation and aiding recovery after physical exertion. It also prompts the release of heat shock proteins, which help repair damaged cells and protect the body from stressors. These proteins can even contribute to longevity by reducing cellular inflammation and bolstering overall health. However, both cold and heat must be approached with caution. Extended exposure to extreme conditions can overwhelm the body's natural defenses, leading to hypothermia or heat exhaustion. The benefits come from controlled, intermittent exposure rather than prolonged immersion. The Stoics would remind us here of moderation, a principle that ensures we harness the benefits without succumbing to excess. Integrating cold and heat exposure into your routine doesn't require drastic measures. For cold exposure, consider starting with cold showers or short dips in cool water, gradually increasing the duration as your tolerance builds. For heat, saunas or warm baths can provide similar benefits, allowing your body to relax and recover while reaping the physiological rewards. The interplay between cold and heat exposure teaches us resilience and adaptability. It reminds us that discomfort is not our enemy. It's a tool for growth. Just as the body grows stronger through exposure to controlled stress, so too does the mind become sharper and more focused when it learns to embrace challenge rather than avoid it. 44. Misconceptions about hormonal treatments. Hormones are the unsung heroes of our physiology, orchestrating everything from mood and energy to growth and metabolism. Yet, despite their critical role, hormonal treatments are often misunderstood, shrouded in myths and misconceptions that lead to misuse or outright avoidance. This confusion not only diminishes their potential benefits, but also increases the risk of unintended consequences. One of the most common misconceptions about hormonal treatments is the idea that they offer a quick fix for aging or declining vitality. Hormones like testosterone, estrogen, and human growth hormone are often marketed as elixirs of youth, promising increased energy, improved muscle mass, and enhanced libido. While hormonal therapies can indeed address specific deficiencies, they are far from a universal solution. When used without proper medical guidance, they can disrupt the body's delicate hormonal balance, leading to issues like mood swings, cardiovascular problems, and even increased cancer risks. Another widespread myth is that hormonal treatments are inherently dangerous. This blanket assumption often stems from sensationalized reports or anecdotal accounts of adverse effects. The truth is more nuanced. When administered under the supervision of a qualified healthcare professional, hormonal therapies can be both safe and effective. For example, women experiencing severe menopausal symptoms can benefit significantly from hormone replacement therapy, HRT, which has been shown to alleviate hot flashes, improve bone density, and enhance quality of life. The key lies in individualized treatment, tailored to the patient's specific needs and monitored closely for any side effects. There's also confusion about natural versus synthetic hormones. Many people believe that natural hormones are always better, assuming they are safer and more effective because they mimic the body's own substances. While bioidentical hormones have their advantages, they are not inherently risk-free. The body's hormonal system is incredibly complex, and even minor disruptions can have ripple effects. This underscores the importance of professional guidance and ongoing evaluation. Hormonal treatments are often misunderstood as a one-size-fits-all solution. However, the Stoic principle of self-awareness reminds us to approach these treatments with thoughtfulness and clarity. It's essential to recognize that hormones are part of an intricate system, influenced by factors like diet, exercise, sleep, and stress. Addressing these foundational aspects of health can often mitigate the need for medical intervention or complement its effects. There's a misconception that hormonal treatments are only for the elderly or those with severe deficiencies. In reality, hormones can play a vital role at various stages of life, from managing puberty-related conditions to supporting women through pregnancy and postpartum recovery. The potential applications are vast, but they require a nuanced understanding to ensure they're used appropriately. Dispelling misconceptions about hormonal treatments begins with education and a commitment to evidence-based practices. By understanding their benefits and risks, we can make informed decisions that align with our health goals. As with any powerful tool, the key lies in using hormonal therapies wisely, guided by expertise and a deep respect for the body's natural balance. 45. Environmental toxins harm hormonal health. The world we live in today is saturated with environmental toxins that silently infiltrate our lives, impacting our health in ways many of us scarcely notice. Among their most insidious effects is their capacity to disrupt hormonal balance, the finely tuned system that governs everything from energy and mood to reproduction and metabolism. These toxins, found in the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the products we use, pose a growing threat to our well-being. Hormonal disruptors, often referred to as endocrine-disrupting chemicals, EDCs, mimic or interfere with the body's natural hormones. Common culprits include chemicals like bisphenol A, BPA, phthalates, parabens, and pesticides. These substances are found in plastics, personal care products, household cleaners, and even food packaging. While exposure to a single source might seem negligible, the cumulative effect of constant low-level exposure can be profound. One of the most alarming aspects of EDCs is their ability to imitate hormones such as estrogen, testosterone, and thyroid hormones. This mimicry confuses the body's signaling system, leading to a cascade of disruptions. In men, this might manifest as reduced testosterone levels, affecting energy, muscle mass, and fertility. Women may experience irregular menstrual cycles, early puberty, or difficulty conceiving. Beyond reproductive health, disrupted thyroid hormones can impair metabolism, mood, and cognitive function. Environmental toxins also have a way of bioaccumulating, building up in our bodies over time. This makes the impact of even small, consistent exposures significant. For example, heavy metals like lead and mercury, often found in contaminated water and fish, can interfere with adrenal and thyroid function. Similarly, flame retardants and industrial chemicals found in furniture and electronics can disrupt the delicate balance of hormones critical for brain development and metabolic health. The connection between environmental toxins and hormonal health underscores the need for vigilance in our daily lives. While it's impossible to completely avoid these toxins, small changes can make a big difference. Choosing products labeled free of BPA, phthalates, and parabens, eating organic foods to minimize pesticide exposure, and using glass or stainless steel instead of plastic for food storage are proactive steps toward reducing exposure. Addressing environmental toxins requires both individual and collective action. Awareness is the first step. By understanding the sources of these harmful substances and advocating for safer practices and regulations, we can protect not only our hormonal health, but also that of future generations. The Stoics remind us to act on what is within our control, and in this case, making informed choices about our environment is a powerful way to take charge of our well-being. 46. Ineffectiveness of extreme health practices. In a culture obsessed with quick fixes and overnight transformations, extreme health practices often hold an almost magnetic appeal. From radical diets to grueling fitness regimens, these approaches promise extraordinary results, but often deliver more harm than benefit. Their allure lies in the seductive idea that drastic measures can shortcut the path to health and wellness. The truth, however, is far less glamorous. Extreme health practices are not only ineffective in the long term, but can also undermine the very goals they claim to achieve. Take extreme dieting as a prime example. Fad diets that eliminate entire food groups or demand severe calorie restrictions might yield rapid weight loss initially, but they also wreak havoc on the body. The sudden deprivation sends the body into survival mode, slowing metabolism and triggering cravings that often lead to binge eating. Over time, these diets can deplete essential nutrients, weaken the immune system, and disrupt hormonal balance, leaving the individual in a worse state than before. Similarly, over-the-top exercise routines can be counterproductive. While physical activity is undeniably essential for health, pushing the body beyond its limits without adequate rest can lead to burnout, injuries, and even long-term metabolic damage. The body needs recovery to rebuild and grow stronger, a principle often overlooked in the pursuit of immediate results. Overtraining can elevate cortisol levels, the stress hormone that, when chronically high, impairs muscle recovery, weakens immunity, and even contributes to fat storage. Detoxes and cleanses are another popular but misguided extreme practice. These programs often promise to reset the body or rid it of toxins through restrictive diets, juices, or supplements. What they fail to acknowledge is that the body already has a sophisticated detoxification system. The liver, kidneys, and lymphatic system work tirelessly to eliminate waste and maintain balance. Extreme detox protocols can actually strain these organs, leading to fatigue, nutrient deficiencies, and digestive issues. The ineffectiveness of extreme health practices stems from their unsustainable nature. They demand all-or-nothing commitment, which is not only physically taxing, but also mentally exhausting. When the inevitable burnout occurs, individuals often abandon the practice entirely, swinging back to unhealthy habits and undoing any progress they might have made. This cycle of extremes undermines consistency, which is the true cornerstone of lasting health. A Stoic approach to health emphasizes balance, moderation, and intentionality. Rather than chasing dramatic transformations, Focus on small, sustainable changes that align with your long-term well-being. Opt for a balanced diet rich in whole foods, a fitness routine that challenges but doesn't exhaust you, and practices that prioritize mental health alongside physical health. The Stoics teach us that excellence is achieved through consistent effort, not through fleeting moments of intensity. Extreme health practices might promise the world, but they rarely deliver. True health is not about drastic measures or quick fixes. It's about creating a lifestyle that nourishes the body and mind over time. Embrace patience and persistence, and remember that the most effective path to wellness is often the simplest one. 47. Decline in testosterone and sperm counts. Over the past few decades, a troubling trend has emerged: the steady decline in testosterone levels and sperm counts among men worldwide. This phenomenon, which raises concerns about fertility, vitality, and overall health, is not merely a personal issue, but a societal one with far-reaching implications. While age-related hormonal decline is natural, the accelerated rate at which these changes occur today indicates deeper, preventable causes. Testosterone is often referred to as the male hormone, but its influence extends beyond sexual health. It plays a vital role in muscle mass, energy levels, bone density, mood regulation, and cognitive function. When testosterone levels dip too low, men may experience fatigue, depression, reduced libido, and even physical frailty. Similarly, a decline in sperm count affects not only fertility, but also signals underlying issues with overall health. Modern lifestyle factors are significant contributors to this decline. Poor diet, sedentary habits, chronic stress, and exposure to environmental toxins disrupt the body's hormonal balance. Processed foods high in trans fats, refined sugars, and artificial additives can impair testosterone production. A lack of regular physical activity, especially strength training, deprives the body of one of the most effective natural ways to boost testosterone. Chronic stress, with its constant release of cortisol, further suppresses testosterone levels, creating a vicious cycle of hormonal imbalance. Environmental factors, such as exposure to endocrine-disrupting chemicals, compound the problem. Plastics containing BPA, pesticides, and other chemicals found in personal care products can mimic or block hormonal signals, interfering with testosterone production and sperm quality. Even lifestyle habits like excessive alcohol consumption or smoking exacerbate the decline by damaging cells and impairing hormonal pathways. Restoring and maintaining healthy testosterone levels and sperm counts requires a multifaceted approach. Regular physical activity, particularly resistance training and high-intensity interval training, has been shown to naturally elevate testosterone levels. A nutrient-rich diet with plenty of healthy fats, such as omega-3s from fish or monounsaturated fats from nuts and avocados, supports hormonal health. Managing stress through practices like mindfulness, meditation, or deep breathing exercises reduces cortisol, allowing testosterone to stabilize. Equally important is minimizing exposure to environmental toxins, opting for glass or stainless steel containers instead of plastic, choosing organic produce to avoid pesticides, and using natural or toxin-free personal care products are practical steps. Regular sleep, often underestimated, is another critical factor. Adequate rest allows the body to reset and optimize hormonal production. The decline in testosterone and sperm counts is a wake-up call to re-evaluate modern lifestyles and their effects on health. By making conscious, informed choices, men can preserve not only their reproductive health but also their energy, strength, and mental clarity. The Stoic emphasis on self-discipline and taking responsibility for one's well-being provides a timeless framework for addressing these challenges. The road to vitality is not through quick fixes, but through consistent, deliberate effort to support the body's natural processes. 48. Importance of balance in health practices. Health, at its core, is a delicate balancing act. It requires a harmonious interplay of physical, mental, and emotional well-being, a concept often overlooked in the modern pursuit of perfection. While it's tempting to go to extremes in the name of health, be it excessive dieting, rigorous exercise, or unrelenting productivity, the truth is that such imbalances often lead to burnout, injury, or long-term harm. The key lies in moderation and intentionality. Balance in health practices means understanding that more is not always better. For instance, while exercise is essential for maintaining strength and vitality, overtraining without adequate rest can lead to chronic fatigue, weakened immunity, and even injuries. Similarly, while a healthy diet is critical, obsessive restriction or elimination of entire food groups can deprive the body of essential nutrients, leading to deficiencies and poor health outcomes. Mental health is another area where balance is crucial. Constantly striving for productivity without prioritizing rest and relaxation can lead to burnout, anxiety, and a diminished quality of life. The mind, like the body, needs downtime to process, recharge, and function optimally. Practices such as mindfulness, meditation, or simply spending time in nature can help maintain equilibrium in a fast-paced world. Social connections also play a vital role in balanced health practices. While solitude has its place in fostering self-reflection and inner peace, humans are inherently social beings. Cultivating meaningful relationships and maintaining a support network are as important for mental and emotional well-being as physical activity is for the body. Striking a balance between personal time and social interaction ensures a holistic approach to health. One of the greatest challenges in achieving balance is navigating the flood of conflicting health advice in today's information age. From extreme diets to miracle cures, the pressure to adopt radical changes can be overwhelming. The Stoic approach of focusing on what is within our control and rejecting unnecessary complexities offers a guiding principle. Simplifying health practices, eating whole foods, moving regularly, getting sufficient sleep, and nurturing mental and emotional resilience can have profound, sustainable effects. Balance also requires self-awareness and adaptability. What works for one person may not work for another, and what is effective at one stage of life may need to evolve over time. Listening to the body's signals, adjusting routines as needed, and embracing flexibility are essential for maintaining long-term health. In the end, balance is not about perfection, but about sustainability. It's about creating a lifestyle that supports well-being in all its dimensions without sacrificing joy or vitality. The Stoic wisdom of moderation, avoiding excess and deficiency, provides a timeless foundation for building a balanced, fulfilling approach to health. By prioritizing balance, we not only enhance our resilience, but also cultivate a life of harmony and purpose. 49. Social perceptions of personal choices. The weight of social perceptions often shapes how we live, even when it contradicts our inner values. From the clothes we wear to the jobs we pursue, personal choices are frequently influenced by the need for social approval or the fear of judgment. This societal pressure, while deeply ingrained, can subtly erode authenticity and lead to a life that feels disconnected from our true selves. Social perceptions act as a powerful force, encouraging conformity over individuality. Whether it's the expectation to follow certain career paths, adopt specific lifestyles, or achieve milestones by arbitrary timelines, society's gaze often steers us away from choices that genuinely fulfill us. These perceptions create an invisible cage, one where decisions are made not out of desire or purpose, but to meet external standards. The implications of succumbing to these pressures are significant. Living according to social expectations can lead to feelings of emptiness, dissatisfaction, and even resentment. A person who suppresses their true passions to align with societal norms may find success on paper, but feel a void internally. Over time, this dissonance between external validation and internal fulfillment can impact mental health, fostering anxiety, stress, and a sense of being unmoored. Breaking free from the weight of social perceptions requires immense courage and self-awareness. It involves acknowledging the influence these expectations have on personal choices and questioning their validity. Are you pursuing a particular goal because it resonates with your values, or because it's what others expect of you? The ability to answer this honestly is the first step toward reclaiming autonomy. Stoic philosophy offers profound guidance in navigating this challenge. Marcus Aurelius reminds us to be indifferent to what makes no difference, emphasizing the futility of chasing external validation at the expense of inner peace. The opinions of others, though loud and persistent, often have little bearing on what truly matters, our own sense of purpose and alignment. Cultivating the strength to prioritize personal values over social perceptions doesn't mean rejecting community or relationships. Instead, it's about redefining success and fulfillment on your terms. By focusing on intrinsic motivations and aligning decisions with core values, you can build a life that reflects your authentic self rather than a curated facade. The freedom that comes from shedding the need for social approval is transformative. It allows for greater creativity, deeper connections, and a more profound sense of purpose. In rejecting the weight of external expectations, you create space for the life you truly want to lead, a life rooted in authenticity, resilience, and fulfillment. 50. Dependency on external protocols. In a world saturated with routines, systems, and external protocols, it's easy to lose touch with our ability to self-regulate and adapt. While structures can provide guidance and support, an over-reliance on them can undermine independence and resilience. Dependency on external protocols often creates a crutch, making it difficult to navigate life's unpredictability without them. Consider the rise of rigid fitness plans, strict diets, or detailed productivity frameworks. These systems promise results, often delivering short-term success. However, when followed without flexibility or deeper understanding, they can foster a sense of dependency. If the system fails, or if circumstances prevent adherence, progress stalls, leaving individuals feeling lost or incapable of moving forward without external guidance. The problem lies not in the protocols themselves, but in how we engage with them. External systems should serve as tools, not masters. When they dictate every decision, they stifle intuition and personal growth. True resilience comes from the ability to adapt, to make informed choices based on context and inner wisdom, rather than rigidly adhering to prescribed steps. This dependency extends beyond personal routines. In professional settings, Reliance on external validation, such as performance metrics or approval from superiors, can limit creativity and autonomy. In relationships, leaning too heavily on external frameworks for communication or conflict resolution can prevent the organic development of trust and understanding. Stoicism teaches the importance of cultivating internal strength and self-reliance. Epictetus emphasizes that true freedom comes from within, from mastering what is under our control rather than being enslaved by external circumstances. Applying this wisdom means using external protocols as starting points, not as definitive answers. It involves learning the principles behind the systems so you can adapt them to suit your unique needs and situations. Building resilience requires developing a flexible mindset. Instead of rigidly following a specific diet, for instance, focus on understanding nutrition and listening to your body. Rather than adhering to a strict productivity schedule, learn to prioritize effectively and manage your time intuitively. These shifts allow for greater adaptability and independence, ensuring that progress continues even when external structures fail. The ultimate goal is to strike a balance, to appreciate the value of external protocols while fostering the internal resources to thrive without them. This balance nurtures both discipline and flexibility, empowering you to navigate life's complexities with confidence and autonomy. By stepping away from dependency, you reclaim the freedom to chart your own path, one guided by wisdom, intuition, and resilience. As we close this journey through 50 Stoic lessons for controlling your mind, take a moment to reflect on the incredible power you hold within. Life is not about controlling everything, it's about mastering yourself. The Stoics teach us that true freedom comes from understanding what lies within our control and letting go of the rest. When you anchor yourself in these principles, you transform challenges into opportunities, chaos into calm, and setbacks into strength. Each lesson we've explored is a tool, a timeless piece of wisdom designed to empower you to live with clarity, resilience, and purpose. These aren't just abstract ideas. They're blueprints for a life where you lead with courage, think with clarity, and act with intention. Remember, your mind is your fortress, and you are its ruler. Don't let external forces dictate your peace. Embrace your Stoic power and own your destiny. Now it's your turn. What Stoic principle resonated with you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear your reflections and how you plan to apply these lessons in your life. Let's keep this conversation going and inspire each other to grow stronger, wiser, and more grounded every day. If you found value in this journey, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on more transformative wisdom like this. Together, we're building a community of growth, purpose, and unshakable strength. See you in the next video, and remember, you have the power to control your mind and shape your reality. Stay stoic.